It's a dangerous love. Victories within the mouth. Almost there, don't give up now. The only thing that's on my mind is who gon' run this town tonight. Who gon' run this town tonight?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am now proud to introduce to you the one, the only.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Goddesses and Devils with your hosts, Katie Kamara and Amanda McManus. This show is being brought to you by SOMA Fusion Radio and the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Please feel free to grab a glass of wine and enjoy an array of topics. Before we get started, a few house rules. In order to fully enjoy the show, we ask that every participant, no matter if you're calling in or just commenting below, to respect one another. We will not tolerate any harassment, form of bullying, or disrespect towards anybody. We will be touching on topics that may be sensitive to some viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Some topics we will be discussing are women empowerment, empowerment in general, spiritualism, healing, and guidance, and some topics that may be and are considered taboo topics, and many more exciting, fun topics we have in store for you. Myself and Katie stand for equality, and we would like to offer you a non-judgmental platform for all of you to enjoy and participate in. So just to give you guys a quick bio about myself, so my name is Amanda McManus, and I would like to share a little bit about myself. I have several degrees. I have a degree in human behavior and social science. I have a degree in general studies and psychology studies. I am actively in college now, continuing my education in the psychology field. I have an extensive background in the medical field as a CNA, patient care technician, and I am a retired EMT. I also have actively helped in a number of cases involving the supernatural. I have a number of psychic abilities as well, including remote viewing, mediumship, empathic, precognition, oracle decks, tarot readings, and much more. I like to only use these abilities when needed or when I feel a message has to be brought to somebody. But other than that, this show, I will not really be focusing on those things or those topics right now. I do have an educational background in religion, different cultures, and spiritual practices that you can find around the world. I am a strong believer in God, and I only choose to work in the light, so just to give you guys a heads up for that one. I have appeared several times as a guest on the Houseworker Files with the famous psychic Chris Garcia on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. So you guys can definitely go to that radio station and listen to a lot of different forms of shows. They talk about a bunch of different topics, and that's where you can catch my friend Chris Garcia on Mondays and Fridays. Um, and I've also recently have been given the opportunity to become involved and become a business partner with SOMA Fusion. And with that being said, I will turn it over to my co-host, Katie Kamara.
Hey guys, so welcome to Goddesses and Demons. Why am I saying demons? Well, anyway, I stuffed it up. Well, what do you know? More wine for me. But no, welcome everybody to Goddesses and Devils. We are here to have a mature conversation, and I hope that everybody listening is able to grasp the concepts and become, they are stay open minded, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're all here to learn, and you know, be empowered by everything that we say. Now, I will say to you that for those who don't know who I am the owner of Soma Fusion. I have my own radio show, Soma Fusion Radio. I am a life coach and therapist with an extensive background as a multidisciplinary in psychology and alternative therapies. I also have my own business where I offer therapy and coaching to the masses. Also have my own academy where I teach people about self-development, how to meditate, how to improve themselves, how to live well and better than they have ever been before, reaching them to the highest potential. I am also an international author of 12 books in various different topics, right from spirituality to erotica to cooking. I have my own cookbook. But I've been doing this for a very, very long time. This is my 8th year of doing this. And I've worked in the radio industry for almost 3 years. I'm also an indie film producer, and I also have my own, I'm a business consultant of Nearly Worldwide Publishing and Nearly Productions Inc., as well as the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. And so with that said, we are going to have a really big topic tonight, and this will be the first time that anybody's actually seen me on camera. So this is going to be fun for me. But what I do suggest for those who are listening right now, to grab yourself a glass of wine. You know, we are, as hosts, we are sitting here with our own glasses of wine, and we're going to be doing the great debate tonight. And I might pose it to everybody a good question. Behind every great man is a great woman. But these days, consider this rather an archaic expression, one that harks back to the times gone by. But thankfully, when wives seemingly selflessly supported their husbands in their endeavors from the shadows of the kitchen, it's an expression that benefits or befits our times a little better and could be explored. And of course, we're going to go into employment. We're going to go into spirituality, the way men and women think. You don't need to tell me and anything about behind every great man is a great woman. That may be true, but times have changed because there are a lot of we've now got the feminist movement, which is somewhat militant. We've now got a lot of movements. In fact, I had a conversation last night about there's actually a male, quote unquote, feminist-like movement out there. I don't know if anyone knows about it. I only just was informed last night. And I think it's quite fun because, you know, there are a lot of men out there that are now becoming empowered and in touch with themselves on their feminine side, because you've got to remember that masculine and femininity are very much genderless. It's not about being a man or a woman. But the thing is that we live in a society that make gender roles so uniquely separate that the debate on how we think as men and women becomes so vast and so chaotically nasty at times that we really lose our perspective on things that really matter. And so now we're living in a society where it's prone that a woman wants to stand on her own 2 feet. a woman wants to be an individual. A woman wants to be listened to and heard. They want to have a voice. It's no longer the what it was back 50 years ago, where a woman would grow up, become of age, get married, have children, and run the household while their husband or their partner was a breadwinner, brought home the money so that they could pay the bills and live and take care of their children. It's no longer that anymore. And so we now live in financially hard times where men and women are now having to go to work to pay for the bills. And there are a lot of women out there that, in terms of the dating scene, are thinking that, you know what, all this empowerment is really starting to get me down. Am I too much for my fellow opposite sex? So, your guess is as good as mine as to how far and how deep we can go into this topic itself. But what I will say to you is that we do have a call-in number for tonight, and that call-in number is 929-436-2866 with a meeting ID number of 522-657-2748. And I suggest for those who are listening right now, you can hear this show on SOMA Fusion, soma-fusion.com, or on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network.com, on the YouTube channels of SOMA Fusion, Mind, Body and Soul. You can also hear it up on the YouTube channel of the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, as well as Facebook.
So with that being said, let's dive right into our topic. So,
Sure.
Kate, what are you going to be talking about first?
Anything you want. Go.
So let's go with casual sexual encounters. So when it comes to male and female, the only thing that's different between them is sexual dimorphism, and it's pretty much a term to describe the difference between the male and females, right? But emotionally, we all share those same feelings, right? We all share and want and feel for the need to have that sexual interaction. But see, here's my question. When it comes down to casual sexual encounters, or just casual encounters, we'll call them, why is it that women, unfortunately, are looked upon as, in a societal way, looked upon as being either sluts or whores, or they're whoring around, when that's really not the case? Because it's been proven that women may not partake in as much casual encounters as males, but they do equally enjoy that interaction and that exchange. So why is it that, if I want to have casual encounters, I'll be pretty much on the walk of shame right after leaving that room?
Exactly. And I think that's where we start to really need to take a step back. Why? And ask, why are we labeling each other in the first place? I mean, I get it that guys have this whole macho masculine, toxic masculinity in them. They do that. It fuels the ego. It fuels the locker room talk. It fuels, who got the better quote unquote bitch, right? But it does more harm than what it does good. And in fact, I don't know if you know there's actually a book called, you may know it, called Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps.
Yes, I've actually heard about it.
And then there's another book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yes, that's actually a very, very popular book, and it actually was more popular towards the 80s and early 90s than it is now. But these books are still in circulation, and they tend to really be on the top here with that, because the simple fact is that insight that Katie and me are discussing right now about the differences between thoughts. So a lot of this actually is a precognitive thought that somebody has about this particular subject. So when society terms casual encounter as, an exchange between two consenting adults. They also somehow, some way shape that a labeling where women are harshly judged because of their interaction within these encounters. And these books actually give a little bit more insight into explaining the feelings that male and female counterparts actually share. And a lot of times you'll see that they may be from Mars and one may be from Venus, but they still meet somewhere in the middle.
They do. They do. And of course, you got to remember that men and women do have different skill sets as well. Women are more emotionally attached, whereas men can do the deed, quote unquote, and walk away from it with no feelings attached whatsoever. Most women, not all women, are, in terms of sexual encounters, they either want what they want, or there's something more to it. They actually feel the connection. And correct me if I'm wrong, that there are a lot of women out there that do seek emotional connection while having sex, rather than the detached emotion of having sex. It's just straight up. Men can detach themselves very, very easily because they don't want to have, and this is another good point, they don't want to suffer the consequences of the after effects of being with someone they don't really want to be with. And that leads down to unwanted pregnancies, that leads to all sorts of things. And it also contributes to the fact that of the rising divorce rates. The other thing is too is that I will bring up, and this is the one for the guys, is that and the girls actually, is that men and women were usually acting on primal instincts. No one ever said that we were ever supposed to have one partner. No one made that rule. In fact, I correct myself, man made that rule. In fact, it was to be paired off with a member of the opposite sex, to be married, to produce an heir, to procreate. But in this day and age, marriage is now just again, it's a label. It's a label wherein it has a connotation of expectation, and that's where we have a lot of relationship failures. Is that we expect our partners to do and be a certain way. But we got to remember that we are in modern times, and a lot of those ideologies are fueled by religion or belief systems that most of us don't know how. I mean, talking about the Bible, you have to kind of read between the lines as to what the Bible is all about. You don't just read it for what it is. Because it's a blueprint, it's a coded blueprint, or a rule book on how they lived their life back then, not now, but then. But of course, there's various other different topics of why women are more faithful than men, and why men can't really help themselves. We see, women are perfectly fine walking down the street. They won't look at anybody, but a man will look at everybody because it's a primal instinct. We forget that half of the issues that happen, when we expect things go downhill very, very quickly. Just because women can be promiscuous or able to have casual encounters doesn't mean that men are not promiscuous either. In fact, there are high rates of men being promiscuous. And now we're coming into the age where polygamy and polyamory is much more common than we actually think.
Right, and then that leads into another topic. When you talk about things like that, it's pretty much saying that a man, and this is normal in a polyamorous type of relationship. A man is pretty much the hierarchy in the family, and then he has the women who are his counterparts. But he's allowed to have multiple women and take them as his wives, and then they produce offspring. So I forgot where exactly it was on the map, the geological location of it, but it was in an eastern country, and one man produced a total of 70 children because of this particular belief that in their culture that polyamorism was okay, and this is their natural way of doing these things. So he produced 70 offspring with, I believe it was 12 women, where that is considered a taboo thing here in America. In America, we see that polyamory is something that's frowned upon because there were so many instances where this actually was a cult driven versus the fact of a religious belief that these people believed in. So what's the difference between a religion and a cult? Well, to the occult members, they believe it's their way, it's their religion. So to them, they feel like they're practicing what their rights are. And unfortunately, with that being said, their rights sometimes cross those societal norms, and that is why here it is frowned upon. But I honestly don't feel there's anything wrong with anybody wanting to experience a relationship in the way they choose to do it. As long as they're being respectful to one another, whether it be male or female, they all should respect one another equally. And polyamory is starting to come back more in America because we're seeing that economically many people are being hit hard. And I'm not talking about with the pandemic. I'm talking about in general. We're seeing taxes go up. We're seeing price gouging. We're seeing housing is becoming unaffordable. We're seeing women who unfortunately become single mothers, and there's not a lot of programs out there that will help them and support them. Now, don't get me wrong, there are programs out there, but there's not enough to stop that cap and prevent women and children from becoming homeless or misplaced in any such way. But with this, I see that, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have this interaction as long as it's a consensual thing and you're not being forced into it. With occultism, you're seeing polyamory where these women are being forced into this relationship, and if they do not go with the flow of things, they are often abused, they are tortured, and a lot of times maimed or murdered. So, I mean, when you look at this and you think about it, I can say if this is something that me and my husband discussed and we felt really comfortable with this and we felt going forward, this is something we wanted in our life, in our family, I don't see a problem with it at all. Like I said, I don't. It's just society, unfortunately, that sees a lot of things wrong with this. And this goes into this can actually start going into psychology now, because psychology, we had a lot of pioneers that developed what we should do in a societal way, which is perfectly fine, and it's pretty much to create a well-balanced place for everybody. That's pretty much what it was. And so with going into, like I said, the polyamory, society frowns upon it. But then we're, like I said, now moving forward, and we're progressing, and we're moving out of that old age, and we're moving into the new age. We're starting to see it picking up again.
Exactly. And I just wanted to mention too is the underlying reason of, you got to remember that in terms of sex, you can see that as men are microwaves and women are electric ovens. You ever heard of that term before?
I think I did, but do you want to explain it so our guests can understand that ideology?
So the male sex drive is like a microwave. It ignites instantly, operates at full capacity within seconds, and can be turned off just as quickly as quickly when the meal is cooked. But a woman's sex drive is like an electric oven. It heats slowly to the top temperature, and it takes a lot to cool down. And so it is a known fact that that the sex drive of a man kind of starts to, not in all circumstances, but the the sex drive kind of starts depleting or decreasing ever so slowly at the age of 38.
Right, and
And
that runs into the fact that they need hormone stimulances to get their testosterone going and their libido going in order to perform.
hmm and for a woman's sex drive, they peak in their mid 30s.
Because biologically that's when that clock starts ticking down, so their body revs up a little bit
That's why you
more
have,
than usual.
yeah, and that's why you have women who are cougars. You go into the cougar age at the age of 40. So it is, and then it becomes baffling for people who, especially for older men who sit there and go, why is my woman acting crazy and going hormonally all over the place, and I can't figure it out. But now, well, it's actually to do with hormones. It's natural instinct for a woman's sex drive, because usually between the ages of what, I'm going to say 15 at this point, because really there have been girls out there that are having babies at very early ages. So I'm just going to go 15 as a medium. I'm not even, and it's not a statistic. This is just my opinion. But let's just say 15 for now. And then all of a sudden they're maybe in their mid 30s, but 40s. Hopefully, if they've decided to have children, they've already long since had their children. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, I'm not in my childbearing years anymore. What do I do now? And body kicks in and wants to do what human instinct wants it to do, because hormones kick in, and we just want to. It's not about being promiscuous. It's about having a higher sex drive at a later age, because our bodies have done what it needs to do. Now we're moving on to a next stage, and I think for those out there that think women are promiscuous, and I'm talking about the whole communication breakdown, or the whole reason to have affairs and so on and so forth, and being dishonest about their relationships. That's not what I'm trying to talk about. It's when they hit that peak, they want to do more with their partners. And they want to go to more of their freaky sides. They want to experiment more. They want to liberate themselves of what, because it's not so fun. If a man could understand what it's like to give birth to multiple babies for a few years of their life, you would want to know why you would want to be liberated by just having sex and not actually thinking about making a baby. You know what I mean?
Right. And then that's a good point, because, you see that a lot where people try to start doing, and innately they try to start adopting new ways of enjoying one another with, whether it's bringing in a partner, which we're seeing that as a triad where they're actually, or swingers, where they're having, these clubs where they go and seek out multiple partners for the casual encounters. And this is agreed upon in that relationship for those people to do that. Now, I'm not saying for people to go out and say, well, this is it. I've been married for so long. I need to spice up my life. Let's go get a girl. Let's go get a guy. Let's go to a swingers club. No, I'm not saying that. But if that's something that is brought up, this is a very normal topic. Many couples go through that, where they have discussions about spicing up their quote unquote love life, right? And we all do that, it's nothing wrong with that. This is just human nature. There's nothing wrong with having casual encounters, whether you're a male or female. There's nothing wrong with trying to spice up your life and decide that maybe some people want to bring in an extra person, but it's unfortunate that there's not a platform for people to go to and speak about these feelings. So a lot of people, especially men, feel like they are wrong for feeling this way, when I'm here to tell you guys, women feel that way as well. We do. We feel like we need an extra something once in a while too. So it's not just you guys. It's all about communication, right? So the best way to counteract when these hormones and these feelings are flaring is just to communicate them to your significant other, and not to pretty much belittle your friend for wanting to involve herself in a casual encounter. Yes, tell your friend, let's be safe about it. Let's make sure we're doing the right thing. Let's, obviously those talks need to be had. But when we do those casual encounters at a certain age, we're called cougars as females. Is a male a cougar, Katie? Would they be a lion? What would they be?
I have absolutely no idea. There's no name. See, that's the thing, is that we started off this show talking about the labels. So why is it okay for a man to give labels to a woman, but when it comes to the opposite way around, there's no labels for a man. I mean, you can call him what's that word I'm thinking of? Lothario? No. No, it escaped me. I know what the word is, but I can't get it out.
I would just call him a tiger, because if I'm going to be a cougar, he has to be a tiger. He has to be a tiger or like a lion. Like, I would call him that. You know what I'm saying?
You got to remember too.
We could even go smaller and call them rabbits.
Yeah, but when it comes to sex, though, women need a reason and men need a place.
Right. That is true. That is true. And that's kind of like also with the wording, like with the labeling. I remember we had an interesting conversation that I definitely want to rehab, and this goes right into it. I remember on our pre-show we talked about the word dude, and dude is for a male, right? And if you want to go ahead and, I'm sorry, if you guys definitely are going to love this one, especially when you find out what I called myself, which I will rehab that conversation of what I called myself. But this is pretty much what we're talking about with the labels. When we are calling anybody, whether it be our male counterparts, any type of label, what are we actually doing? We are creating and continuing those labels. We are creating and continuing stigmatism within our society. We can't just be a male and a female enjoying one another. Now if I hit 40, I'm a cougar and I'm going after everybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's not a nice term, because now what we're doing is we're starting to go into the catcalling. When I walk down the street and I'm wearing a low top, like a cut low top shirt, and I have guys whistling at me and catcalling me, and I'm just like, I'm flattered, thank you, but do you really have to do that? Like, there's so many ways to strike up a conversation with somebody that you feel you're attractive to. You don't have to say, hey, baby. Hey, you have a nice ass. Hey, good looking. You don't need to do all that. I mean, I'm flattered, thanks. By this age, my stuff should be hanging. So I'm, hey, whatever. Thank you for enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, thanks. But, how about, hi, how are you? What's your name? But why hey, I'm going to try this. Ready, Katie? Hey, baby, you look good today. What's your name? Does that sound better? Or does it say, hi, I happen to see you walking down the street, and I was wondering, what's your name? I think you're really beautiful. Which way would you prefer someone coming up to you?
The second one.
And why does the second one resonate more with you? Do you feel that it's a respect thing, or do you feel it being more of an intimate thing?
It's not predatory. Predatory aggression is the number one reason why a lot of women get into trouble, or predatory behavior. Again, this is total testosterone here talking, but at the same time, a lot of women get into trouble because they are sidetracked by the whole charisma, the magnetism that a man when a man talks like with a deep voice, you are attracted to him, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love the manly voice, the manly looks. I do not like, this is me, my own personal likes, but yeah, most women are attracted to men for power, for their tone, for their money, for a lot of different things. And that's right. A lot of these times that they're being attracted for all the wrong reasons, they're running into problems, but because that is a predatory instinct, and it's the hormones speaking, why am I a cougar and why can't he be a lion? Mm-hmm. So You know what I mean? If they're exhibiting this behavior, then why can't they be a lion?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. It's funny because we all think of different levels in relationships and what can be affected by relationships, um, but again, it becomes very very one sided when you and I can talk about the issues that you and I go through and whatnot, but when it comes to a man and talking about these issues, all they have to do, all they can do is judge. It's an instant instinctual reaction to judge.
Right. But why can't I get notches under my belt?
That's beats me. I wish there was a male out there that could answer that question.
Like I would like a notch under my belt. You know what I mean? Like why can't I be considered a predator at times? What if the roles were reversed? How do you think they would feel?
I have no idea, but Sandy in the chat room wrote Playboy.
And see, and that's the funny thing. See, I enjoyed about maybe a year and a half ago. I went to this spot in New York. It's called Gramercy Theater with one of my sisters and her friends, and we actually went to watch a Magic Mike show. And you know, when I got there, I was like, okay, I'm feeling the vibe, I'm feeling the ambiance. You know, they set the mood a certain way, and they literally, the men were not strippers, but they were burlesque dancers. So they wouldn't actually show anything. But then, when the show started going, those hormones within every female, including myself, I was guilty. I'm not even gonna lie because I did catch a shirt. I'm not gonna lie. I jumped like a mile high to get that shirt, but I did when they threw it into the audience. But you can see that same instinct going, but that place offered a comfort and a safety net for women to go and explore that side of them without being judged. And it was in a burlesque setting, so it wasn't really where we go to, your topless strip joints or your all nude strip joints where you have female dancers. I really don't even think there's actually a pantsless strip joint. You know what I mean? Like, why can't there be a pantsless strip joint? Hey, I'd go. You know what I mean? I make dollars too. You know what I mean? But seriously, it gave a platform for women to enjoy that side of themselves. And I think that's what it is. A lot of times women are so harshly judged because they are mothers. They are caretakers. They do have a certain position to hold in a societal setting that they're afraid to exhibit these type of behaviors. So when you're given that platform, you can see women bloom. You can see their inner self come out. And that's what we like to offer here in our show. And that's why this show is going to be awesome, because me and Katie plan on offering that platform. So you guys can call in whenever you want. Like I said, we're going to do our best to watch the comments. So this is my first actual show that I'm hosting. So I'm looking to Katie for mentoring me and all this stuff, and I really appreciate her for everything she does. Like I said, I got to say this. I really do. She is awesome. And so I will do my best to answer any questions you guys have in the comments. But please feel free to call in, and we can have this conversation together. And like I said, if you don't want to leave your name or tell us your name or whatever, you could be caller whatever, or you could make up a name and we'll call you whatever you want. You could be tutu wearing fluffy girl or tutu wearing fluffy guy. We don't care. You know what I mean? Just call in. And with that being said, Katie, why don't you tell our viewers about the word dude? So I'm going to give you guys a quick snippet. When we hear the word dude, we can all Google it and get a translation of it. But do we actually get the linguistic, translation of it? No, we get a basic dictionary term for it. And what I remember dude being is a way of, calling a male counterpart or somebody you consider a friend. Like, hey, dude, what's up? And they'd respond with, dude, what's up? I haven't seen you in a long time. But Katie, being a linguistic specialist, we had an interesting conversation, and before we go to break, I definitely want to have that with Katie. Katie, why don't you tell them what dude is?
Okay, so dude, the real meaning of dude is obviously another name for a man or a guy. It is also, that is as a noun, but as a verb, it is a dude is to dress up elaborately. And so, but if you go around the world, dude is also a hair on an elephant's butt. It is also, dude is also used in the, for another word for a camel's foreskin or balls or dick or the camel's genitalia.
So this whole time, right? And I figured, and I figured this out. The whole time that I have called multiple people dude when I was mad,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly may have been calling them a camel's dick and not even realized it. And that's the beauty of words. When
But I
we're
mean, if
labeling things, do
if
we
you-
really know the labels that we're choosing?
But did you
to
also
use?
know? Did you also know that the term "dude" was also used in the Wild West as well?
See, no, I didn't know that because dude to me was a 19th century word, and it came from the song Yankee Doodle. But it was actually dude was to describe a gentleman who was elaborately dressed.
Okay, well, here's the thing. So I'll go back to what I was just saying then. So it is also a term for meaning big city dweller or city slicker, right? But here's the thing. I grew up in Australia. I was also when I was a little kid and we were talking about male and female genitalia, we always described it or used the word fanny for women or fanny for a female, and a doodle for a man, for a boy. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
We were
So
taught
this
doodle.
whole time,
So you're
in
saying
Australia.
Yankee Doodle and relating it to dude, and I'm going. We called the male a genitalia for a boy dude, and here I am going. Okay, it's now related to camel's genitalia. It's like, okay.
right?
See
And then
see the really
also,
interesting
doesn't
colloquial
dude
language
have
that,
a female version of it too?
dudette, but it doesn't
Okay.
relate to anything.
Yeah, but see, and this this just goes back to what I asked you that day. Yeah, guys, listen up. Yeah, I honestly don't know linguistics apparently because when Katie was telling me about the word dudette, I said, "Well, does that make me a camel's vagina?" And unfortunately, thank God, we women, we lucked out because dudette is just pretty much a term to just call your female counterpart, but it has no significant meaning besides a term of endearment in a sense. So I, unexpectedly and unexpectedly, and I, like I said, inexpectedly, because I didn't inspect the situation, because I should have looked into it a little further before I answered, but I was like, oh, okay, put two and two together. So I'm a camel's vagina. I called myself a camel's vagina, and I just did it again. So really, do we know the words that we're using
But
when
you
we're
gotta
labeling
remember,
things?
too, that back in the Wild West, dude was an insult.
Right,
I
and then
mean-
here in modern day, dude is like, hey, dude,
As a
talk to you
term of
later.
endearment. We are so screwed. But I just think it's funny because, you made a really good point. You related dude to Yankee Doodle, and I'm sitting here going, hold up, I didn't even think of the correlation between what I was taught to say to represent what to represent the word that represents female and male genitalia as a child, and here I am correlating what dude really actually means. I'm thinking, oh my God, did they just shorten it down from doodle to dude? I really?
Right, and literally the song says Yankee Doodle. So is that saying Yankee camel dick went to town? Like, wouldn't it have to
Hey,
be
is that
attached
a
to the actual
translation?
camel to go to town? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, but it could
You
be
know,
a
on the-
translation. Did Yankee Doodle go to town? Did he just go to some corner or go to the bathroom and yank himself? I don't know.
Right, exactly. See, and that's the thing. Here we are catcalling people or we're saying these names and these labels, but do we honestly and truthfully know the words that are coming out of our mouth, like the word bitch, right, Katie? So the word bitch is to describe a female dog. So when I say, as you know, and now bitch has been turned into a word that we use for when we're upset, or when we are best friends with somebody. I'm like, oh, Katie's my bitch. I love her. You know what I mean? So I'm literally calling you that, you know, when I'm saying it as a term of endearment. You are my female dog. Like, I'm just claiming ownership. You know what I mean? That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. So it's like the words we use, whether it be used in a casual encounter, like, oh, that bitch was so fine. And then I said, dude, was she? So not only in that whole translation of that conversation, if you look at it from different words and cultural aspects, not only did I say, he said, oh, that girl dog was hot. So now we're going into bestiality with that guy. And then I'm saying, dude, was she? I'm saying, was the camel dick good looking? Like, it makes no sense. So, like, this is what we're talking about. You know, it's labeling. What can a woman do that a man can't, right? So when we look at it, clearly we all, and both sexes, don't know what we're saying to one another.
No. Well, you heard of the word twit, right?
I heard twit. Like, I've called, believe it or not, I've called my sisters twits when they got me mad. I'm like, you're being a twit.
Okay, you do know that you've just called her a pregnant fish.
Oh, my God. No, I did not. I am sorry to my two sisters. I didn't mean to call you a pregnant fish. I mean, but now you can look at it as a sense of that when I did call you a twit, you see, I was calling you a better word. I was reverting back to the animal kingdom and saying, you look beautiful because, you know, you're a nice species of things, I guess.
I don't know where you were going with that.
I don't know, trying to fix it, you know, trying to come back from calling them a pregnant fish. I mean, how do I come back from that?
I don't know.
And now, like I said, I've called my husband, I don't know how many times already, dude, because he gets me mad. And, you know, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So this whole time I was calling him, you know, either a camel dick, hair on an elephant's butt, pimple on a donkey's ass, some form of a genitalia, without even having to say the word. And then the word dick itself, we refer to it as, you know, the male genitalia, but a guy's name can be Dick. So are we calling him penis? Is his real name penis at the end of the day? Because penis and dick translate to one another? Like, you know, hey, Dick, how are you doing today? So how am I going to call my boss Dick now when it refers to penis? Like, or, you know, you have a lot of cultural dishes, especially, I believe it's in Britain they have this dish. It's called spotted dick, which is literally a fish type of platter, isn't it?
Well, see, here, go back to dude again. Dude is also another word for calling someone a klutz.
Right. It's a way that we degrade somebody as well.
Yeah,
I just...
It's like trying to describe the word fuck that 10,000 times.
Well, the word fuck actually came from a German meaning, and fuck, believe it or not, didn't have the actual meaning that we're using as. You know, we use the word fuck to describe something, you know, when we're mad, like, oh, fuck, I dropped it. Or having a sexual, well, in our dictionary, it's having a sexual intercourse with someone. We say we fucked, or fuck, I dropped something. But then when it's used, it could be an expression of annoyance. It could be contempt. It could be impatience. It could be so many things. But like I said, that when you really look at the where the word came from, it actually came from you know, not the English language whatsoever, but we adopted this word and we turned it into a word that we use to describe our personal and emotional feelings of some sort. Because that word and that noun wasn't found or used until I think it was the year 1680. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't used as what we're using it now. You know what I mean? It wasn't at all. it was used to describe like just it was used as an intensifier to something. It wasn't used as what we're using it for. We use it to intensify the subject when we say, "Oh, this fucking idiot," but the intensifier they were using it as had nothing to do with a curse or anything like that.
Okay, well, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into dude, because I really like this word.
I like it too, and I like the fact that I could use it anywhere and nobody would know what the hell I'm talking about. Except our listeners. Our listeners are now going to know what exactly this word means, and they could use it now when they're mad at a coworker. Hey, dude, you camel dick.
Okay,
I mean,
so we've now worked out that a dude is a term of endearment. But did you know that if a guy calls another guy dude, he could actually be attracted to you and he wants to see your reaction?
right.
And which would be more likely if he shows other signs of attraction around you. So naturally, by saying it, or it could be a sign that he's not attracted to you. So it's like the opposite of opposites.
Right.
So
Exactly.
for a guy, again, you've got to be careful about what you say, and who you say it to, because between two guys, dude is also a meaning of attraction, or
Right.
not attraction.
Right. It's an intimate term. Exactly. Exactly. I seen a comment here where somebody asks, "Do we consider ourselves cougars?" No, because cougars really have to go with the behavior of the woman that they are expressing themselves. So a cougar is pretty much a woman who tries to um, secure casual encounters with men of a younger age. And we're talking about younger age, meaning like, what's typical age? You say like 10 years, 15 years younger than they are. So the woman is about that.
After the age of 40, you are a cougar. Under the age of 40, you're a baby cougar.
Oh, so then I would be a baby cougar.
Yeah, we would be baby cougars if we labeled ourselves that. But you and for the purposes of labels, you and I would be called a MILF.
Oh, I like that better. We would be MILFs.
We are MILFs.
Right. We're MILFs. Okay.
And if anyone doesn't know what a MILF is, it's abbreviated mothers I like to fuck.
Yeah. With that being said, I think we should take our first break.
Yes, we should. I don't know how to escape that one. But no.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I enjoy being a MILF to an extent. But
as long as it's not a label.
as long as I'm not labeled it, right? If it was a compliment versus a label, then yeah, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
But I would much rather prefer somebody with brains and can hold a conversation and speak to me like a person versus somebody who only speaks in words like "mother, I like to
judge.
fuck."
To judge. Yeah.
To judge. Yeah,
Yep. Judge,
exactly.
demean, belittle. Anywho, you are listening to Goddesses and Devils this evening on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Stay tuned. We are going to come back and we're going to have this continue on with this conversation a little bit more. Gosh, we could be here all night talking about this.
I know.
I will mention to you too. I do want you guys to call in, join our conversation. The more the merrier. Our call-in number is up on the live stream feed, 929-436-2866 with meeting ID number 522-657-2748. Again, if you see our live streams up on YouTube or Facebook, please like, share, subscribe. Let everybody know that we are on every Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with yours truly and Amanda. He's always going to be here as well.
Exactly. And please share out, like, and subscribe as well. But please share out. Please join the fun. And like Katie said, call in. We can have so much fun with a caller. Call in.
Yeah, we got hours to be sitting here talking. So by all means, again, Again, that call-in number is 929-436-2866. And meeting ID number 522-657-2748. And with that said, we're going to go to a break. We will be right back.
I'm the girl you're thinking about, the one thing you can live without. Yeah, I'm the girl you've been waiting for. I have you down on your knees, I love you begging for more. You probably thought I wouldn't get this far. You thought I'd end up in the back of a car. You probably thought that I'd never escape. I'd be around in a cage and be enslaved to this place. You don't know how I fought to survive, waking up alone when I was left to die. And you don't know about this life I've led, all these roads I walk, all these stairs I climb. So how can this be? You're praying to me. There's a look in your eyes, I know just what that means. I can be your everything. I can be your heart. I am the time you created. I am the center, I am your heart. Let me tell you something, baby. You love me for everything you hate me for. I'm the one that you need and fear. Now that your hooked, it's all becoming clear. And all your choices that you placed on choice was a reflection of the sky behind. So maybe next time when you cast your stones from the shadows of the dark unknown, you will crawl from your hiding place and take a look in the mirror. See the truth in your face. So how can this be? You're praying to me. There's a look in your eyes, I know just what that means. I can be your everything. I can be your heart. I am the time you created. I am the center, I am your heart. Let me tell you something, baby. You love me for everything you hate me for. You created. I am your sin and your heart. But let me tell you something, baby. You love me, you want me, you need me. I can be your heart. I am the time you created. I am the center, I am your heart. Let me tell you something, baby. You love me for everything you hate me for. I can be your heart. I can be your heart. I can be your heart. Let me tell you something, baby. You love me for everything you hate me for. You love me for everything you hate me for.
I put a spell on you because you're mine. You better stop the things you do. I tell you, I ain't you're running around. You know better, Daddy. I can't stand it 'cause you put me down. Oh, I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Oh, you know I can't stand it. You're running around. You know better, Daddy. I can't stand it 'cause you put me down. Oh, I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. You know I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you anyhow. And I don't care if you don't want me. I'm yours right now. Put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Because you're mine. Because you're mine. Woo! Oh, yeah.
And we are back. You
Good
are
work.
listening to Goddesses and Devils on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, presented to you by SOMA Fusion. Yeah, we are back. I hope y'all have got all your wine glasses filled. I swear. If you haven't got wine, go get a bottle of scotch. It'll do just the same. Like just a little bit faster.
Yeah, it'll hit the spot. And if you can't drink either or, you know what? Juice, water, soda, whatever you want, whatever's up your alley, go for it.
I know you'll see us drinking on this show and in moderation, I think. Although
I hope so.
I'm not sure about that.
I hope so. But yeah, no, the reason we like we mentioned before, we just want to have fun in this show. We want to take the topics that people are afraid to talk about, and we want to bring them to you in a whole different way where we can break barriers, we can open communication, and we can definitely go on with those topics. So with that being said, we got our first caller. Hi, caller.
Hello, it's Chris.
Hi, Chris.
How are you? I want to make sure I was the first caller to support you.
Thank you, Christopher, and we love your support, and we thank you for calling in and jumping in the conversation.
I hope you both were having a great day. I am.
Well, yeah, we definitely are. So I have a question, Christopher. So what did you think about any of the topics? Did anything resonate with you, or did you have any questions?
Yes, it sure did. I witnessed spousal abuse of both genders throughout my childhood.
Right,
Foster homes and stuff.
right.
And also being disabled myself, facing the same equality issues as women.
Right, exactly. And see, and that's what a lot of people don't put together is that, people in so many ways, whether it be women whether it be men, whether it be people with disabilities, they all face inequalities in society and in general. We've we've put stigmas, we've put labels, we've put so many negative things to describe what we truly fear. And that's what labels all come down to. It's a label is created to pretty much call somebody or tag somebody with a certain title because we're either A, afraid of them, B, we honestly do not know how to refer to them, or C, we do it for empowerment. And we do it for an empowerment in the wrong way. We do it to make ourselves look better in the wrong way.
Yes, this all rings true with me.
So, what kind of issues do you come across, Chris?
People overlooking me, just like how a lot of people do with ladies. How men do it with ladies and stuff. You're overlooked sometimes in conversations or where people try to dominate you. And I'm passed up, and I've been passed up for jobs.
Right, which is a great topic that when it comes down to jobs or even in it doesn't necessarily have to be a particular job. It could be a skill set. It could be anything. When it comes to that type of the employment field in general, when it comes to that, women and individuals that are classified as disabled are often overlooked because they feel like they do not possess the same skills that others do. Meanwhile, these individuals will actually go and take the same amount of training and go through the same curriculum, school path, and earn the same degrees and be fully capable and able to perform a job task. But because of the fact of their gender and disability or who they are as an individual, they are often overlooked. So similar to like what you've experienced, women experience as well. So I like how you were able to tie that together, and that just shows me that me and Katie are doing something right.
I've seen several foster homes, and also even my birth mom I've seen throughout the years spousal abuse as victims as both genders.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Women can be abusive towards males as well. We're not saying that all men are just abusers and manipulators and whatever the case may be. That those are labels that women actually have helped to develop and place on men. No, it's in the fact that with these labels, we tend to stick to it gender-based or skill-based. So because somebody is considered somebody with disabilities, no matter whether it's behavioral, cognitive, or developmental, cognitive, or even physical, doesn't mean that they are not contributing members to society, nor that doesn't mean that they're fully able to do something. They are completely able, and they do the jobs a lot of times better than the people that they think would do the jobs. So I honestly, and I've told you this before, Christopher, that I am so proud of you for being an advocate for yourself. I am so proud of you for advocating things like this, because it is truly important for you to advocate your struggles and talk about what you face as somebody being classified as American with disability.
Yes, and I scored a victory today by almost perfect health inside now. First time in my life.
Right, and you did that because you had to advocate for yourself, I know, extensively, right?
Yes.
Now, when you were advocating, they were overlooking you. Were they thinking that like you didn't know what you were talking about, and then did you have to like present them with the findings and information, like your research?
Yeah, I had to. I still need to do a little bit more tweaking, but that'll be discussed. But it's get to be right where I want things.
Right, exactly. And see, and that's what we want to do here. We want to empower people and let them know that they can and they do possess the ability to go ahead and advocate for themselves, to fix inequalities. You know what I mean? The first step in fixing anything that's broken is to acknowledge that it's broken. If we pretend we don't see these things and we ignore these things, it's never going to change. So when it comes to equality, and and we look at it from the standpoint of, is this correct? Is these practices fair? We start to see that it truly isn't.
Yes.
Now,
It's,
sorry, Christopher.
this all rings true to me, and what my hope is now a new day in equality for all of us. That last paragraph in that recent court decision says that all people not of the common class are entitled to the benefits of the Civil Rights Act.
Exactly. And that was recently just enacted into legislation and just got passed. So that was a big...
Like a week ago.
Exactly. And see, and this is what we're talking about. They considered you somebody with disabilities, so they overlooked you. But look how knowledgeable you are in this particular, situation, or even in general, life skills in general. You are completely knowledgeable. You are self-sufficient. You are a strong advocate, and you are capable of understanding things. So it's not fair. So now with this new legislation that they just passed, I'm hoping and I'm praying people like you and my and my own family members are able to actually, become an equal counterpart to society, to the, to pretty much in general, the American government. You guys should have equal rights to vote. You guys should have all that. But unfortunately, a lot of times they try to ignore people like that because they feel like that they do not understand what they're doing. And you're a true testament, because you clearly are a highly intelligent person. Do you remember what I called you, Christopher, when we first met?
A savant.
You
right?
are a savant. Yes, you are a savant. You are highly educated. You are, just because you lack a little bit somewhere else, it doesn't mean you don't make up for it somewhere else. And that's what it really comes down to. We all possess skills. We all are able to fully do things to our capacity. There may be some that are unfortunately more delayed or considered cognitively disabled more than others, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that they should be treated anything less.
It don't mean they're not smart either.
Exactly. If anything, we should stand together and rise up together and help those individuals to have a voice. And this is what we're doing here. We're giving the opportunity for people to have a voice. And I honestly am so impressed by you, Christopher, and what you do, and how you advocate for yourself. And you being the first caller amongst everybody else really, really is just a true testament of what you can do. So don't stop doing what you do, Christopher. You are amazing.
You know, it's ironic, the person that made that decision, he was a nominee of the current administration, too. So that's really something.
It is. It's showing that there's change, and it's a good change. Unfortunately, it didn't change fast enough, but things are changing.
Yeah, it's going to be a different country because of that law.
Oh yeah, I definitely think so too. And it's going to put people on the map that deserve to be put on the map and get to show their skills and their knowledge and what they can do. So, like I said, as long as you keep doing what you need to do and advocating, and you're going to have people like me standing behind you and so many others, I'm telling you, you can change a lot.
Because my advocacy, it takes some people years to battle this problem I was fighting with. It only took me like a month when I started medication.
Right, and I know you had people going against your decisions, but these were your decisions, and you made the right ones.
Yeah, I can't wait until this week till I get to talk about it officially, and I'm going to prove some people wrong.
Exactly, and you keep doing that. Like I said, I have your back. I told you, you need me, you just give me a phone call, and I'll be there for you.
I'm the same for you as well. Same for Katie too.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she knows that.
I do, Chris. I hear every word you're saying.
I have your back, just
I
like
know,
I do everybody else on our network.
and I totally appreciate that, and I value you for it.
We're family here as staff.
Exactly. And like I said, you are on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. You're part of our family here, and so we have to look after you accordingly. And you're doing so well, Chris.
I I I know. I am so proud of what you're doing too. You're doing really well in your producing and work, and you start to bear fruit in big ways. We're growing.
Exactly, and we can only grow more and more and more. I don't know how high the mountain is, but it's certainly one foot in front of the other. Take it day by day.
Yeah, remember, we'll always be haters, but Norm and hit and keep smashing that block button.
Oh, I know. I know.
Exactly.
I
Hey,
have over
I be-
3,600 people now on both platforms, Twitter and Facebook.
Do you know how many times I've had to do that? I've been doing this, living my life as a public figure for the last 8 years. So this is natural to me.
I use LibreOffice or Excel to keep a copy of all my blocks, and I assign a random number like you do at prison. Yeah, I have fun. I enjoy it. I have it in PDF, my entire block list.
Wow.
At least you're organized with it. I can't remember who I block anymore. If I just block them. I'm like, all right, whatever, you're not important. And I move
Yeah.
on.
I write notes for every person I block.
Oh, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, and that's totally within your right to do so. And
You can tell I'm bored.
Christopher, you're not bored. You're just awesome.
Yeah.
You're doing
Well, I
okay.
gotta let you guys go. I won't hog up the show.
Well, thank you for calling us, Christopher, and thank you for sharing and being supportive to us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks to both of you for being you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you, Christopher.
Love you to both of you, and I'll see you after the show.
All right.
Yep. And see you after.
Bye.
The show. Bye.
Bye. Oh, wasn't that lovely?
I love Christopher. I really, really love Christopher. He is truly amazing. And it's funny because Christopher would tell me, he's like, Amanda, does that surprise you that I did that? I'm like, no, you know why? Because I know you're capable of so much. So you know what? Nothing surprises me at all. Because I know you're capable of doing whatever you put your mind to. And I'm just very, very, astonished by your willpower and your drive and your motivation and pretty much beating all odds and doing what you got to do. So, I mean, I look at you, if anything, as an inspiration, not a surprise.
I believe that too. Hey, I during the break, I actually got a word from a little birdie who wanted to, who told me, well, if you're going to talk about dude, right? Because obviously, it's in relation to a guy. Why don't you talk about the evolution of the bitch?
Oh.
So
Okay.
I had a little look and did a little bit of research while during the break, and I went, okay, so I'm going to look into the word bitch. And by the way, we are not FCC regulated over here, so if we are using profane words, it's totally okay. If you don't like profanity, then probably not the show to listen to. This is a mature audience's show. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, the evolution of the bitch. Now, we hear the word bitch used almost every single day. It's not just
every
used
other
by
word.
men, but it's actually used by men, it's used by women, it's used on TV, it's used in lyrics, it's used in God knows. I kind of go to the extreme when the use of those words like bitch, fuck, and the word cunt as well. Now, I had another conversation with someone a couple of days ago, or actually, no, yesterday, about the word cunt. Now, the C word is not really used here in the United States because it has an extremely negative connotation to it,
Right.
as
Yeah,
an extreme
it's
insult.
degrading in many ways.
But in Europe, or certain parts of Europe and in Australia, it's actually not a bad word whatsoever. It's a
What does it
term
mean
of
in
endearment.
Australia?
So, again, I'm going to come up with another word here. And the word that was put forward to me to investigate was bitch. But of course, calling someone a bitch used to be pretty straightforward. But today it's been adapted and reinvented so many times that people have reclaimed it to be completely obliviously normal. And again, just like the word dude, nobody really knows what the word bitch really means. And of course, we could go into bad bitches, basic bitches, rich bitches, ratchet bitches, perfect bitches. Kanye West even described Kim Kardashian, his own wife, bitch slap, resting bitch face. Tag the word on to the end of a sentence. I'm in Miami, bitch.
Right, right.
You know,
Exactly.
bitching, used as a verb meaning to complain. But when you use it as an objective, it actually means to be cool. To be someone's bitch can either mean be owned by that person, which I have a big problem with somebody owning somebody. That's possessive. Or to be his or her boyfriend or girlfriend or BFF.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, many people don't understand, like I said, the origin of these words, because the origin is actually a Germanic word, just like the word fuck. So a lot of the English adapted curses came from the Germanic, the Germanic language.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went from Germanic to Old English. And then in that sense, we started changing it. So bitch originally in Germanic was Bicce or Bicge, if I remember correctly. And that meant a female dog. It really didn't mean with it, but it dates back to 1000 CE.
Well,
Is this
in
word
fact,
used?
I've got a little rundown on that one. So we all know that once upon a time, a bitch was just simply a lady dog or a female dog.
Right.
But go into the Oxford English Dictionary, you'll find that the term has been used as a derogatory term for women as early as the 15th century. And back then it was considered a demoralizing, mostly because it suggested that the woman in question was promiscuous, an allusion to the fact that female dogs also have so many puppies. And of course, also, this can also say, mean why we also say son of a bitch. So a
Right.
son of a bitch actually means that your mother was a whore.
Right, exactly. It's not, people look at it, they don't understand that when they're using it, that's what people are intending. And the thing is that bitch is another way to apply that a woman is a male's subordinate, or it's
Or a whore.
a suggested highly sexually desired woman. And the bitch, believe it or not, is considered a taboo word.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we can go into, it's basically an all-purpose insult. But then you get it came up with music. It came up in feminism. It came up in the urban language.
Right.
It
Came
didn't
back
happen
in ancient Greece, where it said that it was what they used to use to describe people who behaved in such a transgressive way or a shameless way, that they would call them a bitch.
Mm-hmm. Well, for guys out there that are using the word bitch to describe their female counterparts, is actually a term, a really, really negative term. And those themselves who use it on a regular basis to call someone a bitch can also be labeled a misogynist.
Right. Exactly.
So, so here we are using the term "bitch" in a lot of the urban culture subculture, and really what we're doing is we're turning a whole heap of men, including I'm not going to talk about the women because the women have to claim bitch as their own flagship for feminism, and they need to wear that badge for themselves, but they don't claim it because for women to claim themselves as bitches, that means so much more.
Right.
It's almost a term for domination.
Right. And see, believe it or not, people when they actually look into the literal sense of bitch, it means dog. But then, if you look into Greek mythology, like I did, there's a strong connection between the Greek goddess Artemis because she was often portrayed as the goddess of hunt. So she would often be portrayed with a pack of wild dogs surrounding her. So she was pretty much connected to the word bitch. But this word bitch, seeing her as free, vigorous, cold, impetus, it showed her as unsympathetic. It showed her as feral, beautiful. It really empowered the Greek goddess Artemis as tying her with this word bitch. So there is empowerment in that word, like you were just saying. It's just that whether or not women want to own it because of the label that comes behind it. I know Amber Rose, she did a whole thing called a slut walk, and where Amber Rose would actually dress up in really, for like, when I say really revealing like attire, she was really showing it all. She bared it all, but she put on high heels, her stilettos, and she walked. And the whole point of the slut walk was to own the words that people call you and turn those words, because they, at the end of the day, they're just words, turn them into empowerment. And that's what Amber Rose was trying to get across. And Greek mythology, that's what they did. Because Artemis was the goddess of hunting, and she's with the pack of the wild dogs, they referred to her as a strong bitch. So, I mean, if we look at it, we're goddesses.
Yeah, pretty much.
So dude is still dude. There's still camel dicks and balls.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that word too is just it's just used to death now. It really is. It's used to death. And like when we were talking about dude, it's completely lost its meaning. Just like the word fuck can have 20,000 different meanings.
Right.
Most
and
people,
that's a Germanic word that was transferred over to Old English.
And yeah, and the biggest issue that I'm having is that a lot of people don't know how to speak or articulate what they want to say, which leads to confusion between genders, and it also leads to huge misunderstandings. So I can call somebody a bitch, but I know what I'm saying it for. But for a guy, again, you can't label a guy a bitch. What the hell? I'm going back to the original conversation that we had.
Right,
Why is it
right.
that
Well,
you can't call a
bitchin',
guy a bitch, but a woman can be called a bitch by a man?
right, but see, the word bitchin' has the word bitch in it, but bitch loses itself because it's added with the IN at the end, so it becomes bitchin', which becomes a whole new phrase, and pretty much that word, I believe, was developed in like 1949, 1950 or something, and it was being used to describe something that they thought was cool or hip or rad or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's pretty much what you just said, is that they lose their fire in a sense, and then their terms, and then they start taking it and putting a slang to it, and they turn it into a slang word when bitch is really a taboo word. But then it's like do we really know what we're saying when we're saying
Well,
these
that's
words?
the thing is that you know what would happen if a woman really understood linguistically and through articulation of certain words how they can be used to properly in conversation. Um, if people were actually, well, women were actually intelligent enough to do that, then men would have no room to move, and they would be intimidated by it by the 10th degree, because in fact the only reason why a man would use those certain labels, bitch, whore, slut, all those things, is because it's a form of intimidation. It's a power battle.
Right.
It's used to bring a woman down to their knees so that they have no room to move, and to make them feel like they're inadequate.
Right, and
There's
then that
no.
goes back to the fact that it was used to describe a subordinate, and it was a woman.
Hmm. And that's my thing. All those words that we just mentioned leads back to misogyny.
Right.
And there's not very many female misogynists out there either.
No, not at all. And you're seeing more of an androgynous women nowadays who are, ones that have that chiseled, sharp look that really don't consider themselves male or female. But misogynist is you're not seeing them.
Hmm. Exactly. We mentioned too that we do have a caller, area code 203. You are on the air. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who is calling? And what's your name?
Well, hi, I'm Stacy. I'm Amanda's other part. I'm her sister.
Hi, Stacey.
Hi, Katie.
I should have known.
Of
course.
Just make myself sound good.
Well, I have to call you guys on your first show, so I have to do that and, show my support. And, the subject is very interesting. And, also to add on to the word bitch, women are taking that word stronger now, because now it's also they're changing it where when someone calls them a bitch, they say, yeah, I am a bitch. I'm strong and I'm independent. That's right. I am a bitch. So I do hear people changing the slang now from what it used to be meaning to what it is now.
Yeah, and that's all about empowerment. We're starting to take back. We're starting to take that power back by like what I was saying with Amber Rose. The word slut. Women would feel so, just degraded when you would call them a slut, or the C word, like Katie said, cunt. That's another word to pretty much express a word for a woman that you want to call. She's a cunt. She's being a whore. She's being a bitch. It's like just a very just disgusting word. And when you stop people from using that word, you stop them from taking that part of you and belittling you and making you feel less of a person. What you do is you turn that word into empowerment, and you own that word, and be like, you know what? I am a bitch. I am a cunt. I am whatever you think I am. But guess what? Ain't you the one calling me? Ain't you the one coming back to me? Ain't you the one having this conversation with me? So that means I'm better than you. That means I'm higher than you. And that's why we played the song Whore earlier, because, if you really listen to the words she says in that song, she's pretty much saying that you called me this name, but yet you're the one who's bowing down to me. You're the one who's calling to me. You're the one coming to me. You're the one trying to get my attention, but yet you are calling me this word. So you know what? Yeah, I'll be your whore. Because I am this person. I am strong. I am empowering. I am mighty. I will not sit back and allow you to degrade me any further. And that's why we played Whore. Because it is a very empowering song if you actually listen to the lyrics or you follow the lyrics. If you can, take a look at the lyrics by her.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your favorite word to call a guy when he pisses you off?
I have so many. So many.
What's the first word that comes to your head?
The biggest one, because not all guys, a particular person, I am not going to say. I would say, me personally, I would call them an asshole because they act like an asshole.
Right. And see, that word asshole itself is pretty much described to call somebody, a jerk in many ways.
Mhm.
Your head is in your ass. You know what I mean? You're acting like an asshole. You're talking shit. Crap's coming out of your mouth. You know what I mean? But then asshole is actually referred to the end part of your digestive tract of the human body, whether you're male or female, that you all have an asshole.
Yep.
So we're all assholes. So we all have one.
Exactly. Yes.
But it's just whether or not you allow that word to do what that person is meaning for it to do to you. So you're absolutely right with taking the word back.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's why, like Katie was saying, you don't see many misogynists around. And for those out there who don't know what a misogynist is a person who strongly dislikes or despises a woman, and they feel strongly against women. Now, the last time that I've seen misogyny acted out in public was in 2008 when John McCain referred to Hillary Clinton as getting that bitch. And that was one of his campaigns. His campaigns were actually censored and then formatted because that was his main campaign. And if you guys look it up, you can definitely look it up on probably on Google, to be honest with you. And it would say how he referred to Hillary Clinton as a bitch. And they took that away because they didn't want him to seem like a misogynist. But clearly, if he's using that, there was some kind of feeling going on there towards either the person itself or the gender of that person.
Yeah, exactly. And you hear women these days call men a bitch.
Oh yeah, I've called many guys my bitch. My guys claim them.
You know what I'm saying?
I've
So
claimed them.
that word bitch gets around and comes around all different ways. Every kind of generation, that word is going to be changed in their eyes. So
right, and that goes into one of the other topics I wanted to discuss. We all have breasts, right? So men have breasts, females have breasts. It's part of the human anatomy, right? But females, their breasts have been overly sexualized that now women's breasts became more of a sex symbol than it actually has become what they were meant to do. Women, the reason why our breasts are a little bit more protruding than males will say is because we use it to take care of our young, right? So we use it to nourish our young. And that's why, anatomy-wise, why we have developed the breasts that we do compared to men. Men have breasts. Some men actually have bigger breasts than women. And this is a hormonal imbalance with their estrogen that causes them to have bigger breasts, right? Now, when we over-sexualize breasts in women, now that becomes, like I said, a sex symbol. So why is it okay when it's really hot outside that a guy could just take off their shirt, bare it all, because it's hot? But if a woman did that, we'd be considered a target. We'd be considered wanting sex. We'd be considered a slut, a whore, dirty, nymphomaniac. There's so many titles that will be thrown at us because we were just doing what our counterparts were doing. We were removing our shirt because we were hot. And I remember there was a tennis player, and I'm not sure of her name right now, that actually got kicked off of the tour because she took off her shirt and she had a sports bra on because she, I don't know if she spilled the water or it was drenched in sweat, but she changed it really quick while they had a break. And they flagged her, fined her, and kicked her out of that game because they said that she was explicitly showing herself, which wasn't the case. She had a sports bra on.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to figure out. I just saw up in the comments here about what is a slut and a tramp. Well, it goes back to the same damn words that we were just talking about. It is derogatory, and if you are using them on a regular basis and it all relates as a negative connotation to women, which leads on to misogyny.
Right, which is a strong dislike for women.
In other
You
words,
know,
misogyny is just somebody who loves women to death, but really wants to actually belittle them because they feel insecure.
right, or they feel like they're superior in some way or form, and they try to gain that superiority by doing what Katie said, by degrading women. And these are great. These are great topics because tramp is when you look at the word tramp was pretty much adopted, and tramp actually doesn't mean like tramp as in the word of a whore. It actually means to walk heavily or make noise. You're trampling. You're tramping hard. You're stomping. And then what we did was we adopted that word, and we put a negative connotation to it, where we actually started calling people the word tramp to refer to them as tramps, because everybody pretty much takes their turn with them. It's kind of like a slut, how they refer to. Do you ever hear that saying that it's a, what are they called, disses, right? You know how they have disses and they try to diss one another. So did you ever heard your mom is like a doorknob, everybody had their turn? Well, that's another way to degrade women, and it's a diss that people used to use to try to gain the upper hand and create an emotion or a behavior out of somebody. So they would target that person's mother, who the mother is the matriarch of the family. And so those people would use these words, these disses, and they would add certain meanings where these meanings imply something. They do, but it's going back to a negative connotation.
Well, here's the thing: is that the original meaning of tramp, the word tramp, was used in the Great Depression or towards the end of the 1920s and all of the 1930s. But it was used. The original meaning of tramp was used to refer to a destitute, homeless person.
Right, a person who didn't have a job, had no money, had no home, would be forced to travel around in different locations because they had no stable, environment to dwell in. So yeah, and that's a that was, like you said, that was back in the Great Depression. But the word tramp itself now is considered, it could be a nautical word. So in the nautical phrase, it's a cargo vessel that carries goods among different ports. They're a tramp, and then in horticulture, that's another word. Horticulture is the study of plants, and it pretty much means a metal plate protecting the sole of a boot while doing work in like the field. So they used to have people who did farm work. They would have tramps under their feet, and so it goes to horticulture, then goes into cobblers who were shoemakers, who would use these tramps to protect the bottom of the feet to give more, like that protection to people who would do mining and stuff like that as well. So, the word itself is not really a bad word, but linguistically we adopted a negative connotation to it to refer to as the woman being a slut or a whore. And with that being said, it actually really, like I said, if we think about it, it really doesn't mean anything besides to walk heavily. So, if you think about it, when a man storms off stomping, is he being a tramp? Just saying.
Again, what is the opposite label to a man? There is none.
Right. It's not.
That's the problem, is that men are so hell bent on labeling women for what they may be or may not be, but they're just so hell bent on labeling that it's like, okay, no wonder why women feel insecure about themselves. No wonder why women are not some women, not all, are not able to stand on their own 2 feet, because you're constantly degrading.
Right. And unfortunately, like you said, this goes back to the earlier beginning of the show where we said that women are, and it's been known that women and scientifically proven that women are more emotionally driven because of the fact of their hormone levels. We carry more estrogen than we do testosterone. Um, Fun fact though, women can actually have an imbalance in their hormone, causing them to carry more testosterone and create more, well, they create more testosterone, which it then carries through their body. And because of this, that signifies an endocrine issue with them, yes. But some women just create more testosterone than men. Yeah, yours truly here. I do that. I don't have any issues with my thyroid, but it's been proven that I do have a higher level of testosterone. So this is why, me personally, I would be more aggressive than my male counterparts, or I would be more combative, or I would be more driven or motivated, whatever the case may be. I would have male traits in the sense of, because my body's producing this and it's sending signals to my brain, and then my brain is responding to this chemical, and it's causing the brain and the memories and the labels and the information that we are given, the subliminal messages that we are provided every day. Those things all go through your thought process, and then once it goes through the thought process, you act on those behaviors because we are being told that this is the correct way to act.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and then with the word slut, like I said, slut is a derogatory word to refer to the human, and it was a misogynistic created word, where males created a word to explain a woman. Going back to the very, very beginning and earlier part of the show with casual encounters, they would be called a slut because the true meaning of the word slut, it's a noun, and it says that with the word slut, it's a woman who has multiple casual encounters. So, with that being said, it kind of ties into everything what we've been discussing, and I really enjoy people asking these questions because, this leads way to topics and conversations, and it gives chances for Stacy, like she just did, to call in and talk about the word bitch and how she, instead of going with the negative aspect of bitch, she uses it as a word to empower her and say, you know what? Yeah, I am a bitch. I am bold. I am independent. I am tough, and I am hard. Meaning, I am hard at the sense of I can take your shit. So just, you want to call me a slut next, go right ahead. Not in the sense that she has a boner, because only guys get it boners.
And that's the other thing is that we've now come into this day and age where women are more likely to stand up for themselves and say, hey, bring it on.
Right, so that gives them a harder shell. So that's why I said the word hard. And pretty much, if you guys didn't realize what I did, I used the word bitch, and I just added all the words to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you could do. You could take those words like slut and bitch, and
there are, and like I said, there are many women out there that just don't give a flying two hoots anymore about what a man thinks about them, and when that happens, you better watch out.
Right, and see, and the funny thing is that women like to tear down other women because of the fact that some women feel inferior because of their own looks. And this leads us into another topic. Why does women have harsh beauty standards? And we see this in entertainment where these women try to keep up these harsh beauty standards, which in return causes them a lot of mental anguish. It causes them to feel really insecure, so they have to get plastic surgery. They have to do body modification in order to project themselves in the way that you would find to be attractive so they can continue on their career. And that's not right. Like I said with the breasts. Men have breasts.
And men can actually lactate.
Actually have large breasts is considered, like I said, a medical occurrence with their estrogen. And I forgot I forgot what it's called. I would have to look it up. But it's pretty much, they could wear a bra, the best way to say it. I mean, I'm sure they could fit in my bra, some of them. You know what I mean? But yet we don't sexualize their breasts because it's about their body. So then that's what I said. It's
Yeah,
harsh
but do you know
beauty
what
standards.
we do though is we see those people and say that they're too fat, they're too this, they're too that, they're too.
Right.
Then we give them a negative attitude or a label in some other way to counteract the fact that, oh well, they're not like me, so I should just berate them because what the hell, right?
Right, and you see, and that's the thing. There's a lot of people that really would enjoy a woman that actually are on a heavier status than women that aren't. You look at it, like this is the way I look at it. My husband, I love him to death. My husband is not a matchstick guy. He is muscular, he is firm, he's got some weight to him, he's husky. And I love every part of him for that. But I look at it as, and women judge just as much as guys judge. I could not find myself with somebody who's skinny, because I'm like, hey, that's just like matchsticks rubbing, and yeah, it's not going to work out for me, And I look at it in that sense. It's so everybody, and that's what people don't understand. Everybody has that ability to judge or to body shame or do whatever, because this is what's put in our head. These standards, these harsh standards developed by society, who try to pretty much either idolize or disregard people for people.
And
We don't look at it as we're people.
And that's the other thing is that a lot of people project because they don't have, or they are insecure in their bodies, their mind, their spirit, their whatever you want to classify it as. They feel inadequate, insecure about certain aspects, not every aspect, but certain aspects. So therefore, they have to project onto other people, so that they don't show no responsibility, no accountability to anything that they say, do, think, or feel.
Right, and that people don't understand that when people psychologically do these projections, it's a defense mechanism, like you said, in which it pretty much helps defend the human ego against unconscious manipulations and impulses and qualities, and it serves as a point to attack people who are more vulnerable in order to do blame shifting. So when we do that, we are blame shifting, and we are taking our own personal dislikes, like Katie was saying, and we're shifting the blame, and we're blaming people for our own imperfections, which is not appropriate at all. Like I've always been very petite, tiny, somewhat curvy, and I could say growing up, I wasn't happy for not having the most biggest breasts in the world. My sisters all got that, so I told them, I was like, well, it's because I was the last child, they got all the goods, and I got the ends, in a sense, of everything, so I only got what was the leftovers. And I joke with them like that, you know what I mean? And I would look at my sisters, I'm like, oh, they're so beautiful, and yet, they're bigger women than, body-wise. They're fuller, they're curvier, they're voluptuous, whereas me, but then when you look at a voluptuous woman, or a woman who's very curvy, they're referred to as big, beautiful women. When you look at them, you have people who idolize them and look up to them because they wish they could be like them. So we fat shame them because we can't live up to who they are. You know what I mean?
It's a double standard for men and for women. With that said, we do have a caller on the line. Area code 831. You are on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Angelica.
Hi.
I just wanted to call and say I'm enjoying the show, and it's an awesome topic today. It's like I'm learning new meanings of words that I didn't know.
Well,
yeah. And that's what's amazing, like I was saying about our show. We want to give you guys a show where we can have fun, talk about things cordially, but also break those barriers and those communications. Like you said, we don't know all the facts, right? We're not all knowing and all seeing and all powerful. We aren't. We all fall under certain stereotypes, standards, and women, unfortunately, get the harsher end of it.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. And like in today's society, it's like there's so many opinions. Everyone just has their own opinion about things. and not everyone's is right and not everyone's is wrong. But but there's just a view that has just been set into everybody's minds that this means this or this means that, when it doesn't necessarily have to mean what everyone has just like believed it means.
Well,
Right.
most of us are going to sit there and just, make it up accordingly, because everyone has, like I said, everybody has an opinion, and when we form opinions turn to words that we don't really mean, and those words that we don't really mean turn into other things, and it becomes a tumbleweed effect, and it's almost as if you're inauthentically telling yourself a whole heap of crap to make yourself feel better.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right, and that's the thing. This goes back to, this goes back to early psychoanalytic thinking and theories. Because believe it or not, what we're discussing here is the conceptualization of Sigmund Freud, and he was a pioneer in psychoanalytic theory and theoretical thinking. So he would take things like this and these particular topics, and he would create pretty much let's say he would create a way that you would understand the human thinking process and the human psyche, right? So we all have the capability of thinking, but what happens is that if we start to believe that projection is what we need to do in order to feel better, but then it became an instance where projection became an impulsive behavior, where people would impulsively create these things within their head because they had, honestly, what they had was a narcissistic personality disorder or a borderline personality disorder that they refused to understand they have. Because, when people think that when they're calling somebody a name or they're projecting something negatively, they're thinking that, this is okay. It's not okay. This is actually a psychological condition that someone is experiencing, and it has to do with the way that they're thinking and they're analyzing situations. So, these things, like I was saying, with the over-sexualization of breast some way, somehow became a sex symbol. And now when women try to breastfeed their children in public places, they are considered whores, disgusting, degrading. Why don't you go cover up? Why don't you do this? But yet a guy can just flip off his shirt and walk down the street, and we're just like, oh, my God, he's got such a sexy body. Why is that?
I know, right? I
that's what I was
understand
gonna
that
say.
because it's like when it's hot outside, it's like sometimes I just wish I could take all my clothes off, just take off my shirt and just walk around like that there. But I can't. That is okay for men.
Well, see,
There's
here's
no
the
problem with that.
And here's
Right.
here's the thing. Do you know that a man can lactate?
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I find that interesting. It's like I think it makes them more like us women, and so that doesn't really separate as much to where it should be a sexual, symbolic thing.
Right. The only thing that really separates a male from a female is the fact that they have different genitalia that are used in procreation. That's exactly the only difference, because we all have the same chemicals, but the only difference is as well is that, and like I said, that's the anatomy version, the only difference. But then when you go into the chemical level, with the chromosomes and things like that, the only thing that's different is that girls possess a certain chromosome and guys possess a certain chromosome. And that's what makes it chromosomally different. You know what I mean? And this is all for procreation. This is not for us to go ahead and discredit one sex or the other. This is because we need continue to grow as a species. So this is what we, what our bodies need to do in order to support that.
Exactly, and I think we go. Let me just mute that for a second. I think we led astray into thinking and feeling certain things. Things and going into situations and believing them to be true to ourselves, when in fact we're involving ourselves in terms of tolerating and accepting things for what they are, rather than what they could be, and it's what it's doing is it's promoting toxic behaviors. Really, really toxic behaviors.
Right, and the thing is that we don't understand even why we're creating them. We just do it, and it's all because of what we are being taught. This goes back to early childhood development. When we're being taught that males cannot play with Barbie dolls. Males can't like pink. Males can't do that. Females have to have these assigned colors and assigned play toys. And it's not fair because growing up, I like to play with Thundercats. I like to play with J.I. Joes. Hell, my sisters could tell you.
Do you remember the WWE or F or whatever it is, the little stretchy figurines?
Oh, yeah. I had those too. I loved them. You know what I mean? But growing up, my sisters can tell you, and they're probably going to write it in the chat if they didn't. I literally took my dad was building a picket fence, right? Mm-hmm. And he had one part of the picket left, and I took it. And I decided to take shoestrings and a piece of cloth that I found, and I drew a face on it, and I made myself a doll. And I called her Lizzie. And when people used to get mad at me, I used to go around with my Lizzie doll, which was literally a wooden post, and I'd smack people with it. My sisters could tell you.
Oh, my God.
So it's like, I literally remember growing up as a kid, I would idolize my dad. And I would try to do everything he was doing. I wanted to work in the yard. I wanted to build the fence. Like I said, I still had some of that feminine qualities, yeah, but I still wanted to do everything that my dad was doing. I wasn't like my mom in the sense of wanting to be a homemaker in the kitchen cooking, and that was the thing. Women were stereotyped as, they belong in the kitchen. And, and that's something that is really negative because guess what? My husband can cook real well. And my husband will tell you, he totally does not like that standard, and he equally shares responsibilities with me. And that doesn't make him a weaker counterpart. That makes him a dominant counterpart than, beyond so many ways, because that shows that whenever I can't be home because I'm working, he can lead a household for me. Mm-hmm. Where it's been said that women lead households while males provide that household with the financial means to support it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, just because my husband can cook and do laundry, I taught him these things. He didn't know these things before he met me. I taught him these things. I got him out of the whole idealization that men only go to work. And you know what? We enjoy cooking dinner together. I find it really super attractive when he's sitting there cooking and he's wearing my house slippers too. I love it. When he can't find his and he puts on mine, oh my God. He is the biggest, he's amazing to me. It's I see him in a whole different light, and I'm just like, wow, you're so good looking. I love that about you. It makes me appreciate him on so many levels. And see, and that's the thing. When we can break those boundaries and cut those borders down, we can enjoy each other companies in so many different ways. I literally can grab a beer and have it with my husband and be considered one of the guys and hold conversation topics that females are considered not to belong in, like sports.
Well, see,
I don't like sports, but I could hit a nice fastball. You know what I mean?
Well, let me put this out to you. Is that it's almost a double bind because it's the expectation that women are attractive from a biological evolutionary origin. The type that they choose to attach to by social instruction, and today women socially are encouraged, if not empowered, and perhaps maybe expected to do it all. So in other words, it actually causes, and on as a side note, it does cause extreme stress, and you wonder why women seem or are labeled bipolar or crazy or hormonally imbalanced. Is because we're becoming robots. Women are becoming robots, and it's
right.
because
they're becoming
men
victims
are
of a systematic process that is not fair.
There's no balance, and that causes women to be labeled as super women or super moms. You know, where social norms tell us that we're expected to succeed in work, run our home, raise the perfect children, and to be attractive and chipper too.
Right, exactly. And the
And
problem is that when we're trying to run our home, we are underpaid. And it's been statistically proven, even through the Census Bureau, that women who have and hold the same amount of skill sets and education as a male counterpart still gets paid less. Why? Because they're expected to go on maternity leave. They're expected to run into issues with their children. So they look at it as like, oh, well, because of this reason, we can lower your pay grade. And that's not even the case. That's just a way for them to continue to oh my God, I can't say that word, systematically put us in a category, and we just become part of a system. We don't become a part of a working class.
exactly. And of course, you know, the other thing is too is that with that little tool, Ola, I just mentioned, it also requires a woman to be not just intelligent, motivated, powerful, but she's got to be in control at all times. Don't lose her cool, because it doesn't look cool for a mom or a woman to lose her cool, because she's got to be a perfect role model for her children and her partner and everything else. So where is the balance? The balance is lost because
Right.
we feel like we've got the world on our shoulders and we can't do anything about it.
Well,
Because we
yeah, exactly. And, this is, and this is another part of that, is that we see women of minorities feeling more of the brunt of this because of the fact that they're colored women. They are even paid less. And it's been proven that women of color face worse hardships than, your typical white women, because of the fact that they are of color, they are a minority, they are prone to living in poverty, they have 101 kids. There's so many stereotypes surrounding them that they feel that these pay grades are okay, and that's a societal issue. That's not equality whatsoever, but because they're giving them that opportunity to work in that field, they consider it to be equally effective, which is not correct at all.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Do we want to take a break or do we want to keep going?
Yeah, I think we should take a break, and then, when we come back, we'll finish up with one more topic, or two more topics, or 5 more drinks.
5 more drinks. I got plenty over here.
Yeah, exactly.
I also too. What are you going to get into? What's your topics?
Oh, I was going to say, what kind of trouble can I get into? Well,
No.
you get into a lot of trouble for talking to me. I mean,
you and me
I can
both.
get into a lot of trouble.
So
Well, the topics that I wanted to finish up with it and again continue is that I want to kind of I want to speak about how and I'm not trying to get political whatsoever, but this kind of falls in a political thing because so I ran into this situation with my son, right? My son wanted to go to college. We were excited. We applied for financial aid and all this stuff. We got a letter that my son wasn't accepted because he did not sign this form, okay? And this form was a selective service form. In order for a male to receive any type of financial aid from for any type of institution they choose to go to, they have to sign a selective service, paper, and it's pretty much given their life and their rights over to the government in the event of war, that they will rise to the occasion and become, whether they're not trained at all, active members of the military in whatever form they need them. And so I want to touch on that, and I don't want to give away too much, but I had a very good debate with some college administrations, and I even took it all the way up to my governor's office and Senate's office because of this. So I definitely want to touch base on that.
And for me, I'm going to just briefly touch, and we can go into this on another show, about why women are frustrated with dating.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I've been out of the game for 14 years, so.
Okay, well, this will be all about why women are attracting or not attracting the right people, and even when with a person, they're attracting the wrong person, and why so many women are getting involved in toxic relationships.
Yep, I like this topic. That I could talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was dating advice, yeah, I've been out of it for 14 years, so I'm a little rusty.
Oh, you could probably relate to it. It's all good. All right,
guys,
so we'll
that
take a
being
break.
said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we will be back very shortly.
All right, you are listening to Goddesses and Devils on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, brought to you by SOMA Fusion.
Put it on, play that girl song, DJ, put it on.
Hey, Splat, come on, man. I thought we was going to a party. I'm not trying to help you move. This is the party.
All right, my boy.
Shawty never selfish.
Sir, I did not tell you to get out of your vehicle.
I mean, I get back in.
No, you're already out. Come on.
We received a noise complaint. What do you have in there?
You don't want to see what's in there, bro.
I kind of want to see what's in there. I like surprises.
Anybody got anything illegal here?
This ass.
Man, you cannot twerk on the...
Get your ass off my car!
Officer, a word if you may.
You're famous, aren't you?
First I'd like to say that blue lives matter. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm also a firm believer in Donald Trump. Now with the alternative facts. They're partying in the truck.
These guys, right?
I normally party in the hills. Please believe I do it up bigly, to the utmost.
Give me a hug, come on. Show me some love.
All lives matter!
Maybe I should kill myself.
and welcome back. You are listening to Goddesses and Devils on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, brought to you by SOMA Fusion. And we are talking all sorts of stuff this evening in order to promote communication and a balance between the sexes, between communities, between and to stop people from being alienated with certain messages that people put forth, and the labels that we give people for absolutely no reason, because we're hiding our own insecurities. That's pretty much what it is. Do you agree with that, Amanda?
Oh no, I definitely agree with it. If I can sum up it, you definitely summed it up. I mean, that's exactly how I would have done that. Because that is totally what we are doing. You know, like I said, the whole idea of this, show in general is to break boundaries. You know, we want to be able to make that bridge and connect that bridge. You know, it's kind of like with society, we have a bridge, but it's not a fully formed bridge. So people fall between the cracks all the time, or people get lost trying to cross this bridge. We want to add those pieces to that bridge so that way we all can come together and communicate effectively and understand that what we're doing a lot of times is not conducive to anything. It is not conducive to people. It is not conducive to causes. So it's definitely what we are trying to promote.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the other thing that we are trying to promote is the balance. That is all we can do is promote balance in order to highlight the most core issues that we are having in society, in order to strengthen the interpersonal relationships of the community, because it's not just about men and women. This is about the community that we live in, with the words that we were talking about earlier, the correct meaning of them. How do we implement that in our communities to stop people from actually calling each other and educating people about what those words really mean, and how they can actually profoundly affect other people when you call it to them, whether it be man, woman, or child. The way that we do things is the way that it shows our character. And when we show our character to be somewhat negative, all sorts of things can happen. And then we wonder why we have an insecure or a doubtful mindset about ourselves. We don't feel as if we are ourselves anymore. We feel lost. We feel lonely. The black different.
We feel isolated. We feel despair. We feel grief. We feel sorrows. We feel like we're not good enough, and thus leads to people having suicidal ideations.
Mm-hmm.
And we are inadvertently feeding those people's feelings by being so negative. So if anything that we can offer you tonight is a sense of positive behaviors. We want to promote positivity. We want to promote, we're not all going to be positive every friggin' day, every friggin' second of that day. No, we're gonna have issues.
And life is never gonna be perfect. No one is perfect. And someone comes to me telling me that they're a perfect human being, I'm going to get a baseball bat and smack you over the head. Like, really? Right.
And that's the thing. There is no. See, when people call themselves normal, a lot of those times, those people are hiding what's truly sitting inside them. The feeling, the emotional distress that resides deep, deep down in them. They are hiding that because they want to fit in. And that's what it really comes down to. Everybody wants a place. We're all part of a big puzzle, right? The whole big puzzle is life. And each one of us are contributing pieces to that puzzle. And when we start taking that away from people and removing those puzzles, we fracture, we break as humanity.
What are we really so afraid of is the question we need to be asking. Why are we so afraid of actually seeing ourselves or looking at ourselves in the mirror to see all of our flaws? Why are we covering them? Is it because it seems naturally perfect that our ego has to overtake the subconscious conscious mind that so that we can make ourselves, or our charisma or our character or our genuity look better for somebody else, and then 5 minutes later we flip the script and we become somebody else. And then we wonder why we're labeled bipolar or crazy or this or that. So why are we fearful and why are we hiding the crap, all of this crap, when we should be learning how to grow, learning how to cope, having that resilience that is needed to be strong enough to take whatever comes to us rather than hiding it in a negative place?
Right. And I think a lot of that comes with the fact that people are not given that education, that information. They're not understanding this because the fact we don't want them to know this. And it's a way of in many ways, it's a way of systematic oppression. You know what I mean? And we're doing this to ourselves.
Yeah, it's self-sabotage.
Exactly. You know, we are oppressing ourselves. And then we are oppressing, like I said, we are oppressing certain groups of people, whether it be males, females, whether it be ethnicities, cultural differences, whatever it may be. You know, what is at the end of the day, we all, and this is, and here's a quick history lesson for a lot of people who don't really follow anthropology. I do. I follow anthropology a lot. And anthropology is pretty much the study of humans and where we evolved from and our cultures and where do we adapt these things. So in anthropology, there was a lot of different species. And I'm not going to go from the beginning. I'm just going to begin where we began from, okay? But we came from something called Homo erectus, which is the first bipedal walking primal animal, we'll just call it. It's pretty much a link between apes and humans. And this is what we were, right? And we came from Homo erectus, which was upright bipedal walking. And this is where our ancestors are. And then we became Homo sapiens from those, right? But we all originated from one place, which was Africa. It has been scientifically proven, anthropologically, geologically, societally. We've all come from one place. So why is it so hard for us to understand that we all bleed? We all have hearts. We all have brains. We all have everything. We only have, like I said, different aspects anatomy-wise because of the simple fact we need to continue to have our species thrive. And this goes back to, Darwin's theory. Darwin said that pretty much, and I'm not saying it word for word, but Darwin said that the strong will survive. And we happen to be the stronger of species. Thus is why we continue to grow and evolve, and we adapted, and we have, we've adapted new tools, which turned into where we are today with our electronics. Those were tools that we use for different objects and different meanings and usages and so forth. But we all came from somewhere. So why must we want to hold down people? Why don't we want to, go hand in hand with them? What are we afraid of? Are we afraid that, we'll learn something? Is that what it really is? Are we afraid that we're going to gain knowledge? Are we afraid that we might just like being considered one with people?
And I just might like be just like you, vice versa.
Exactly, and that's why we're friends. Friends, They have a common like. That's why they like each other.
And the other thing is too is that why, in terms of women, and like I said, we speak for women. If a guy wants to weigh into it, the call-in number is up on the screen. It's been up on the screen for the entire show, and that is 929-436-2866 with the meeting ID number 522-657-2848. Now, what I was going to say is that, and it leads on to the whole dating scenario. And it's not just dating, is that now that women in modern society are now finding their way through the muck, the crap that goes on, all of this, the negative stigma that comes with it. A lot of women are now becoming the part of not the Me Too movement. That's purely, we're going into feminism there, but I'm trying to avoid that. We're going into the too much woman, the what's branded as the intimidated woman, the wild woman. The other thing is too is that, there are a lot of women now that are now coming because we're in the area. Nowadays we've now got we're dealing with COVID-19. We're dealing with all sorts of societal issues, and of course, women we are losing our jobs. Obviously, we don't figure out how to pay for our bills and look after our children and our husbands, our partners, and God knows who else. But the other thing is too is that women are now becoming entrepreneurs. And therefore, those women who have gone through relationships that have been bad or toxic, or have gone through, who have just decided, you know what, enough's enough. I'm sick of this whole traditional role of being a woman, the mother, the childbearer, the nurturer, the carer, the and taking on that. That manly role. It's not being a man, but it's doing it. It's basically the way that I see it, quote unquote. It's just my opinion. Doing it like a man, but in a feminine way.
Right.
And
So we're rising to the occasion, but we're doing it in our own fashion.
Exactly. And it's leading to have women to be more independent, to be more driven, to be more passionate about what they do, be more outspoken, strong, and standing firm on their two damn feet. Just to not to make a point, it's to
Survive.
It's
It's
to
to
grow,
survive. Like we're
to
not
work
trying
harder,
to set
to think outside the
standards or
box.
goals. We're just trying to survive and make it just like the next person, because we do have our children to take care of. We do have expectations of us as well. We do want to be productive members of our community and society, but we want to do it in a positive way. And some people, unfortunately, are going to go against the grain and not want to follow that and not grow because they're afraid and they fear change.
And that's where women become more intimidating, because now it's like, oh crap, what is a man supposed to think? What's the next move going to be? Is there are they? But no, the thing is, it's not about all of that. It's that, again, that goes back into the insecurity mode. It goes back into being, am I too much? And how do I cope with that? Because a lot of people are going around, most people they're stuck in their comfort zone. They're stuck in their comfort zone. They don't know how to think outside the box. And I don't know how many times I have lost count of that I've been told these words. You are just too much. I'm too opinionated, too blunt, too bold, too loud, too direct, too sexy, too bossy, too bitchy, too emotional, too crazy, too moody, too funny, too crazy. I said crazy again. Did I say crazy again twice?
Yeah, but you could be crazy
too mean and too
crazy.
nice.
And crazier.
And women don't want to be put into that trap of being called a superwoman.
No, and I mean, and I totally embrace that. You know what I mean? Because I've been a superwoman several times. Many people don't know. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, that I've been a frontline worker before. I'm talking about before the pandemic, but for other things that were going on in throughout time and stuff like that. And I haven't been around for ages, but I'm just saying, in my career path, I ran into some situations that were considered life-threatening, dangerous, and I literally rose to the occasion. I was one of the females that passed the fireman's exam. When females couldn't do it, I did it. You know what I mean? And that's what we're saying, is that we just want to be considered as equal, and to be recognized as productive. We want to show what we can do, yes, but it's not a game of who's better than who and battle the sexes. It's just the fact that we want to set an example for our future. You know what I mean? Our children, our people who look up to us. We want to set those standards, those boundaries, because there are boundaries, there are standards. You know what I mean? Women don't have to show their whole body to be liked by anybody at all. So those are one of the misconceptions about standards, that people feel like a woman has to dress sexy in order to be considered, attractive. No, I like to throw on a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, wear a pair of sneakers, and throw my hair up like it is now, call it a day, and just get into mud and dirt and go fishing and do everything a guy can do. You know what I mean? I do, and we can do it. You know what I mean? My husband was my best partner on an ambulance, and he could tell you I was his best partner. And he is a male, and I was a female. Obviously, I still am a female, just saying. But that breaks that standard. You know what I mean? That breaks that. I was equally a supporting partner to him in a field that we were equally a part of, but women were looked to be in a little less capable because of the weight and the workload. I went into fires with him. I carried bodies by myself. I did all this stuff, you know what I mean? And I did it because for the greater good. It wasn't because I wanted to show men that women are strong. I did it because that was the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So it's like women, when we're doing these things, we're not doing it to show that we're better than anybody. We're doing it because we can.
Well, you see, here's the thing is that, you know what? I can make this declaration today. I am proud of being too much for anybody out there because I never half-assed anything. I'm the one who loves too hard, feels too deeply, asks too often, thinks too much, wants too much, desires too much. But I'm also the woman that does too much or nothing at all. But I am the type of woman who some consider too wild, too shy, too confident, too talkative, too strong, too aggressive, too sexual.
Well, I like you.
Too demure. I know you do.
And I'm the same way as you. I literally, like I said, I have, and I mean, this is not like saying it's a good thing, but like I have in past relationships, and this is not my husband, this is my past relationship, I've had it where I had to fight back against my boyfriend at the time because he physically was, trying to be the aggressor in the situation, and I'm telling it out here today, I'm not saying no names, but I whipped your ass. And I whipped your ass in a hand-to-hand fight, you know what I mean, like fist and all. And it was unfortunate that I had to come to that level, but it was my life that was being threatened, and I rose to that occasion. And that's what makes women such productive and valuable members of society, is that we can rise to the occasion, and we could do it.
Well, here's a quote for you. I embrace being too much because I've learned that when you expect less and demand less, you get less. So it's about time we just fuck the world in their opinion.
Yeah, and in plain terms, that's exactly what it means. Just fuck everything and just do what you got to do and be you. And that's what's important. Everybody has to understand that it is important to be you because you fit into that category that makes you indifferent but makes you valuable. You understand what I'm saying? It's not an indifference in the sense of a negative. It's an indifference in the positive. Your views help me to grow as an individual.
Well, the reason why I said, when you learn that if you expect less, demand less, you get less, you shrink. You shrink to be controlled by the people's opinions of yourself.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying.
And for those people out there, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I mean, you can flip this over into a masculine role, but nobody was made to be fit in a box that is too small for the magnificence that you hold inside. So why are we choosing to fit the mold when you are the motherfucking mold?
Exactly, and guess what? It's your mold because it's meant for you.
Exactly. Everybody out there was born to shine. You were out there to do what you do best, and whatever you do best is totally up to you. It's don't give up on yourself. Don't be quiet. Don't quieten down your heart because you want to share yourself with the world. You don't have to apologize for the person that you are. I will say though, if you do, you will need to apologize for holding the accountability to accept the things that you've done wrong and forgive yourself. But don't
Right.
give up on yourself to the point where you are just tolerating.
Right, and that's all about spiritual and personal growth. The so when it comes down to changing anything, the hardest part of changing anything is to understand and accept that there is a problem. People ignore the problem because they don't want to admit that they're part of the problem a lot of the times. They want to project self blame and deny whether they negatively or positively affected a situation. No matter what, we all live we all live. Well, we all live, yeah, duh. But we all leave carbon footprints.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The things that we do, we may not understand, may affect somebody to a whole different extent, even if we didn't mean it or if we did mean it. So why is it so hard to acknowledge that? And, and it took me a long time. It took me to, pretty much grow up. You know what I mean? To realize that, what, a lot of times when there's an argument or whatever that's happening, I'm just as much a part of that problem in that argument than that next person was or is. And it's whether or not I choose to fuel that argument with hate, negativity, or whether or not I choose to fuel that argument in the positive and learn something from it and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I may have offended you, or that's not what I meant. I'm sorry. And it's hard for us to do it. It's hard for me to do it. I'm sorry, and accepting and being accountable for actions is one of the hardest things that a man or a woman can face or understand or even grasp and admit that has happened. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think we get to the point where we just, we lose our inability to shine and figure out who. I mean, it's the very reason why I do what I do. It's the very reason why you do what you do in a different way. I seek to educate people and grow their awareness, and so that they can grow to the highest, be capable, shine that, be that radiance, be that glowing little beacon for other people. Because personal growth is not just about healing yourself, it's also paying it forward to the next person, so that as a community we can grow. I will mention too that we do have a caller on the line. Caller area code 414. You are on the air.
Hi.
Hi. Who are we
just
talking
calling to show my support for you guys. I'm loving the show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I know who this is. This person is very dear to me. I love her a lot. Like, I would do anything for her, and she knows it. And she knows that if it ever came down to it, that even if we gotta hide a body, I'm doing it.
Definitely.
But no, and see, these are the things that this is actually my niece, and I actually have similar conversations with her, and I've had these conversations with her, and I've told her she is perfect the way she is. Never conform to societal terms, but be who you want to be. And she knows that, and she literally comes to the table with it, and she brings it. She actually is in a trade right now in her school that most women are not considered to be, effective members of this particular trade. Why don't you tell them what trade you're a part of?
I'm in plumbing and heating.
Right. And we don't see many women in that type of field, because they say that that's a man's field because, the equipment, one, is heavy, two, it's down and dirty and mucky and nasty and gross. But guess what? She is thriving and she's doing phenomenal in this field. And it's not about the fact of whether or not she could do it because she's a female. No, she's doing it because she can do it. And she's just as strong as her male or female counterparts in that particular trade. So I am amazed by her for doing that. That's amazing that she went into that field to begin with, because like I said, it is a taboo field for a woman to go into.
Well, do you know, but believe it or not, do you know that I'm actually a certified die setter?
No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I'm actually, most people don't know it. It's like I went to trade school while I was in high school and I completed my vocational education and I became a die setter in the polymer industry. And of course, I didn't think much of it back then. I'd probably, if I ever was needed in the manufacturing industry, obviously I can go straight into it. But when I was 17, I was hell-bent on joining the military, and I couldn't join the military because of disability. So that went, AWOL. But the thing is that I was going to become somebody that went against the grain in terms of gender role employment or gender role in jobs, and that was to become a stoker. And if anyone doesn't know what a stoker is in the Navy, it is a marine engineer working in the bows of the ship, control on the ship's motors.
Right, running the motors and make sure they're operable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, exactly, and that's what my niece is doing. My niece is working with systems that are considered to be very difficult to learn. Not many people want to go into that field. You don't see a lot of people in that field because of the fact that they feel it to be they need to be too tech savvy, when really it's more of a mechanical thing versus a technological thing. But now that we're shifting gears in the way that we are growing in our technology, you start seeing it move towards that. So now she's setting the bar and standards for young women and people who want to be in that field. So it's really amazing. And thank you for calling and showing your support.
Mhm. Of course.
I love you.
Love you too. Can't wait for the next show.
Thank you.
Now, you were going to move on to a topic, Amanda. What was that?
Well, it's funny because the last thing you said was talking about how you were going to be a die setter, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And I saw some comments in there. So what pretty much happened was when my son was getting ready to go to college, he was starting in a community college, which I don't discredit whatsoever. I went to a community college. I think they're phenomenal. I really do. And they're a great starting point for anybody. And so naturally, I look into financial aid and stuff like that for my son. I filled it all out, and then we received a letter in the mail that he was denied financial aid because he did not complete a form. And so I called his school, and I was like, what's going on? What form didn't we complete? Because I'm pretty sure I signed everything. She's like, well, you didn't sign the selective service form. I was like, well, and, I didn't know what that was. I thought that was pretty much, only done a while ago. I never knew that this still existed because I wasn't, I wasn't informed of this because I'm a woman, first of all. And second, I didn't know anybody that went to school that was a male that was able to fill in that information for me right that second. You know what I mean? So I was like, what the hell does that mean, selective service? Like, what does that mean? Like, why is my son being drafted? So I didn't understand this was something that they did. So I had to dig deep into it. And unfortunately, the school didn't offer so much information. So I started doing researching into it. And it turned out that every male, in order to receive any type of financial aid from the school in regards to them, not school, from the government, for them to go to school, they needed to fill out the selective service. So when I looked into selective service, it's pretty much a form that states that in the event of war, they will be drafted into the war. And I got really upset with it because it wasn't the fact that, I didn't want my son to be an active member and fight for what was right in our country. And it wasn't like that. I wasn't against that because my dad was in the military. And I, like I said, I didn't know anything about selective service. I just knew very basic stuff. And so, it really upset me because I said to the lady, because I called the selective service, place here in Connecticut, where I'm from. And, I'm not originally from, but where I'm currently residing. And I called them. I was like, hey, listen, why does my son have to sign this to get aid? And she's like, well, it's because it's a requirement for males that when they hit 18. I was like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, it's a requirement for males. I was like, well, that's bullshit. And I told her just like that. I was like, that's bullshit. She's like, well, many parents, that have sons are really upset about it. I was like, no. See, that's not why I'm pissed off. I'm happy that my son is going to sign this paper. And I'm happy my son can contribute to something if needed. And if this may be something that he wants to pursue, then I'm all for it. But what I'm not happy about is, why wasn't I given this paper when I signed up for college or aid? Well, because you're a woman. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Well, because you're a woman. You're a girl. I was like, I understand what I am physically and anatomy. I know I have a vagina. I understand what's the difference between a male and a female, but why can't I be a selective service member? Well, you can go into the reserves if you want. No, that's not what I asked you. What is the reason why I cannot be a selective service member? Well, because there's no reason besides that you're just a female, and females, back then where it was considered not right for females because, they had to take care of the children. And, I really think this is not a great thing either, but, this is the way it is. I was like, well, this is bullshit. And I got really, really pissed. But I did sign the papers for him, and, he signed the papers and I sent them in for him. But I literally was beside myself, and I was pissed off because it was like, why does males get to, why? Because I can carry a child and they can't. In the event of war, this is what they're telling me, because I can make a baby and they can't. So now they're going to put me in like a selective breeding program if something happens where males were wiped out. Like, that makes no sense to me. That pisses me off. And so I actually reached out to the governor and I complained. And they're like, well, it's history. I was like, I don't give a shit about history. I don't care if it's history. I don't care if it's engraved in stone. I don't care. This is wrong on so many levels. I can be an active member in the military, but I cannot be in the selective services. You make no damn sense. That is so stupid. So what can a man do that a woman can't? Well, here's one of them. They can be in selective services while a woman can't. And I don't think that's fair at all, because I actually got offered to be in the military, and I declined because I wound up having really bad knee injuries, so I couldn't do it at the time. And I got offered to be, after I took the test and all that, to be intelligence. So I'm like, well, hey, if I'm so smart that you want me in your intelligence, but yet you don't want me in your selective service, what the hell does that mean? And I was like, and my son has no formal training. Oh, don't worry, we'll train them when they get there. So you're taking people who graduate high school, or may not have graduated high school, at the age of 18, who has in this day and age, in this society, are not given the proper education, or even, you don't even discuss this with them within your school, that when they hit a certain age, that they are to sign the selective services. Why don't you teach them this in school? Why is this such a hidden agenda for men, and it's not realized, and it's not being taught to people of this modern day society? Because I went ahead and I asked several people in my college. I was just walking past. I was like, hey, are your mom? Yes. Do you have a son? Yes. How old is he? Oh, great. Did he do selective service? Yeah. Did you know about it beforehand? No. Oh, okay. Thank you. So this is something that I find to be really discouraging for a woman, that when we are asked or accepted or whatever to join the military, through our school systems or wherever, where we're being asked by recruiters, they'll take us, but then they won't allow us to do many other positions within the military because they feel like a woman can't fit there. It was only until recently, and I started researching, because like I said, it pissed me off. Started researching it, that there was only recently in this century that women started doing infantry, because they didn't want to send women into infantry. They wanted them to be medical providers, secretaries. It's kind of like that movie Hidden Figures. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie. It's a great movie. But Hidden Figures are, it was a great movie that depicts these women who happen to be, nationality-wise and race-wise, they happen to be black women who are educated, and they worked for NASA, and they made pretty much so much change, and they forced this change because they were being oppressed and not given the proper information that men were, or that white people were given. But yet these were the key factors on whether or not, they were the key players on whether or not that spaceship was going to launch. You know what I'm saying? And then here we are. What if the fact that we send all our men out, what's going to happen? It's not fair. I think that women should be offered or told to sign up for selective services just like men. Why should my son go to war, but I can't go to war? Makes no sense.
It's the same argument that we were making before about why should I be given a Barbie doll? Why can't I be given a truck?
Right.
It's ingrained to us since the beginning of time. The thing is that a lot of the system that we have in place right now is so archaic that I'm not even sure if they know how to date. I mean, this goes right from the Constitution to religion to, I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show about, religious texts. You kind of have to read between the lines. These are what was going on in those times, not right now. And of course, people are taking everything literal. You can't do that.
Right, but why? But that's and that's what I'm saying. It's like, why is that okay? If we know this and we recognize this and we understand that this is a problem, why is it okay for it to continue to happen? If we're going to go ahead and change and fight for equality, why can't we do it across the board? Why? Because a lot of times it's a way to, keep us where we need to be, and that's not fair. It's not fair.
Exactly. I mean, I know that there are plenty of men that will jump on the whole, get rid of their masculinity and be in balance with a woman. But the thing is that we're still living in a patriarchal system. It's always going to be whatever the rules are. It's the whole reason why we started off the show, saying, defining what a dork is. A dork. A dude.
So what's a dork now? Now I gotta go. What's a dork, Katie?
Oh my God.
Like, where are we going with dork? Let me see. Let me look that up, because now I gotta look up dork because you mentioned it. Dork meaning. Ready? Let's see.
Whoopsie.
Dork meaning.
Let me go.
You know what's funny?
Where'd you get it?
So what I get is that it's an odd behavior or ridiculously acted around others, and it's socially manifested. You're dorking, you're dorkling, and you're dorking around. So it's a socially awkward, unstylish person. You're a dork.
Did you just call me a dork?
I guess so.
I guess you're a nerd then. I'm kidding.
No, I'm a nerd.
No, but what that's the whole reason why we were defining what a dude is, what a bitch is, and I think all these words and these texts and these constitutions, these laws, these guidelines, everything has been so misunderstood, misinterpreted, and miscommunicated that we really don't understand what we're actually listening to, or what we're reading, or what we're even saying. And that is one of the biggest problems in society, is we will never be able to change if we continue on being indoctrinated by a system that is socially inept to change.
Right.
And if we don't adapt to and reform an archaic way of thinking, then we're all screwed. Us women and men will be put into have roles that we are only specifically given to us to carry out for the rest of our lifetime, when you and I know that we can be better people. There is so much more to life than to even think about what our role is supposed to be in accordance to the rules.
Right, or societal norms. And we could be so much stronger if we stand together completely across the board.
Exactly. And there are a lot of ways to do that.
Right. Do we have a caller?
Do we?
Yes, I called back because the military issue touched a nerve with me.
Oh,
hi, Christopher.
Hello. It touched a nerve with me. They didn't take other classes of people, and if you have a disability like myself, then you go get screened. Even though you're smart, they can make it where you can't ever be in the selective service, even if you're registered like a man like me.
Right, exactly. And see that's the thing. See, that I understand. If a person is, unfortunately physically disabled to where, they are, bound or some way, some form unable to do things, I understand what they're saying by that, but still, that is not correct because you know what? You still have a mind, you still have thoughts, you still have feelings, you still can contribute in many different ways. And that's the thing. You may not contribute out in the battlefield, but you may contribute in the intelligence field or may contribute in different scientific approaches where you're actually becoming a scientist and studying things or a biologist or studying zoological things and stuff like that because there's so many different avenues that you can do in the military. So it's not fair across the board. I understand they do that to kind of what's the best way? Protect people. But in the same sense,
protect society. Because
right,
if you're disabled,
they're hurting people because that should be your personal choice.
Yeah, I wish they would find, in Britain and in France, they have a place for everyone if you sign up.
Right, and that's the thing. Why can't we all come together and use the people that we have here in this world to make a difference? No matter your color, no matter your abilities, no matter what, you always can be productive in society and in our country for something. You don't have to be a young, 18-year-old male who just graduated high school. You know what I mean?
Yes. And now I talked to a few service people now, even people that were in command. Now they have gamed the system to the point that physical fitness has become such an obsession that that they want mercenaries, and has weakened the ability of the force to be able to differentiate when a command shouldn't have been followed, like what happened during the riots.
Right, and
it has become a disgrace.
I understand that, but the word mercenary is somebody with non-forgiveness. That's why they have them. You know what I mean? They send in mercenaries because they feel like they have no emotional ties and understandings to what they're doing, which that's not even the case.
That's what they want. That's why they toughen the standards for physical training.
Right, exactly. They're concerned with money, they're concerned with ethics, and it's not fair to make people feel that they are labeled or categorized as something, because a mercenary as a noun is a professional soldier hired to serve in a foreign army. You know what I mean? But yet it's if you look at it in the behavior of a person, they look at people who act in that way as like, terrorists or people who just don't have any type of feelings, and that's not fair either because this is the labels we're putting on them,
And that's because of that mentality that they want has increased extremism and stuff like that in the ranks.
Right, and believe it or not, the activity of mercenary has become illegal in many international laws.
Yeah, in other countries, because they changed it to include everybody in the service system, mercenary behavior will get you kicked out. But not here.
Because that's more of a radical type of behavior. Because they're only in it for personal gain. They're not in it for the cause. You know what I mean? And these are, like I said, these are labels. These are what, unfortunately, are put on these people. These are behaviors that are taught to these people. These are behaviors that they're forced on these people to have them. Because guess what? The military, they're good people. They are. You know what I mean? But just like with anything, you have your rogues. You have your ones that go AWOL. You have and then the word mercenary is a label that they're given, and it's unfair, just like the word slut and whore. They're unfair because we should not be labeling people in such a negative sense. We should be trying to, and unfortunately, like I said, I'm not saying like there's ever going to be world peace and all this stuff, but why can't there be equality across the board,
Yeah, so I'm one of those that's seen it. A lack of equality in many different fields.
Yeah, and if anything, we see more inequalities than we do equalities in anything. Inequalities seems to be a theme with almost every company, whether it's a government-run company or a regular standard law firm or whatever you call it. You see a lot of this, and a lot of people don't understand inequalities and labeling and stuff like that is what's really creating a division. Not respecting other people for who they are has become a big division. Trying to segregate and make one party less than the next is not okay either. Unfortunately, we just can't see the fact that, like I said, pretty much going back to what I said, we all derive from the same place, the same species. We're all the same. It's just we have different flavors. We have different things that make us individuals, and that's the only thing that we don't have in common is our individualism. We all have individualism. We all have individual likes, dislikes, feelings, emotions, but the problem is that we can't communicate those effectively, so we create these problems.
Mhm. Yeah, I love this show. There's so many things that hit home, and I just wish I could call in on all the issues, but I had to be selective since I'm not part of the guest list. So.
Well, I told you, Christopher. I'm gonna have you as my guest one of these days. I promise.
You're here on topics that hit home with me.
That's because they are part of a part of life. That's what we're involved in every single one of these topics, whether we consciously, going back to labeling, whether we consciously are aware that we are labeling other people or people are labeling us. We are constantly surrounded by negative and positive aspects of life. And whether we directly or indirectly, it affects each and every single one of us. But it's our job to recognize what these little problems are so that we can actively and proactively go out and try and seek a change rather than sit there and have a biased opinion about everything. Because like I said at the beginning of the show, this show is not, just because Amanda and I are two women, it doesn't mean that we're taking a feminist approach to this. These subjects are very, very much, that's why it is goddesses and devils, angels and the devils, light and the dark. There's always going to be good and bad things about every topic that we talk about. But the thing is that we create balance in order for you to see different aspects and different perspectives on what things are like in life. In general, right. And that goes from relationships as well, relationships right down to the nitty gritty of sex. I mean, not everybody. If there's anybody out there that claims to know everything, please call me. Really, please call me. I would love to know what your thoughts are on all this. But at the
I
same
would
time,
love to see them call us here. I'd probably shoot them down in a heartbeat.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Not everybody has the answers. Not everybody has the knowledge. Not everybody has this. But see, with a collective knowledge and a collective understanding, we can push those barriers to the point where we're pretty much getting rid of all of them, and we're pushing them right off that cliff, and we're starting to, like I said, mend that bridge that's been broken. That's the whole point. We all are key players in society, and we all have our own voice that needs to be heard. You know what I mean? And it's not, like I said, our whole thing is not to pick on one particular subject or and discredit others, but this is all a part of a learning experience. Me and Katie, when we're doing these shows, we actually break things down. We look at them from many different levels, but we also use psychology to help us, because psychology pretty much gives us an in-depth look into human behavior, evolution, anthropology. See, a lot of this is that, we have early philosophers like Plato, Socrates. We have them who pretty much started becoming pioneers to all these ideas. And because they were unheard of, a lot of these ideas started just getting pushed to the side, but they all made sense. They all revolved around people coming together and understanding each other on a very intimate level. And I don't mean a sexual level, I mean an intimate level. When you understand somebody on an intimate level, you're developing and you're creating a stronger bond interpersonally with people. And that's what we need to do. You know, we need to build on our interpersonal relationships and our communication skills in order to break those barriers down. And we look to all of you guys, you know, to hear your input and your opinions, because your opinions matter just as much as the next person. You know what I mean? But we touch on topics that nobody really touches on because either A, they're afraid to, or B, they don't feel comfortable doing it. And that's what's good about being in the psychology field. You learn how to come out of your comfort zone and accept things for what they are and know that they can be so much more just by listening.
Yes. You remember the music video of The Wall? You know, the song that has "We Don't Need No Education"?
Yes, by Pink Floyd, yep.
It's all about getting rid of barriers and programming.
Exactly, and that's pretty much what Goddesses and Devils are doing. We're trying to break those barriers and improve communication across the board by talking about these subjects. And I'm glad that a lot of them resonated with you and all of our listeners out there, because that's what's important. You know what I mean? The point of understanding that we see the behaviors and we see things for what they are, but we're afraid to acknowledge them, or we're you know, unfortunately pushed back in a position in society where we're considered to be different because of gender, is not an excuse to not want to break down those barriers. If anything, that should give us more of a drive to do so.
Amen.
Yeah, amen to that.
I thank you guys for having this show. It's like this is the most informative show on radio I've ever listened to.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Did you find us fun at least? We don't want to be too boring.
Yeah, it's fun. And sometime I'll call in with my screen name.
Yes, your secret screen name. You have to call in with that. But whenever you're ready, I know what it is, so just call in with that screen name.
I'll let you and Katie know a private message before. Tonight's not the topic, though.
No. I like that when you do that, though. Yes.
I hope you have a good night, and I'll talk to you both later on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christopher, for calling. I love you.
Love you too, and keep on trucking.
We're going to do our best.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
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 So where do we go through to from here, Amanda?
Well, I think that, you know, we covered pretty much everything. So now if anybody wants to call in for, you know, last minute conversation, that's great. If not, you can take us on home, Katie.
Absolutely. So we're putting out that call. So again, for those who have been, because I've been noticing that a lot of people have been coming in and out of the chat all evening this evening. So again, can you mention your? Oh, hang on. Somebody said there. I wish I could speak because I have a stockpile of thoughts that would open the truth with truth and close with facts. There are reasons for selective service documentation and rules. The topics are real, but there are gender equality in the service and gender, I think it's supposed to be inequality. And lastly, if you really want to talk gender balances, talk about those with sex changes, men, in women's sports, and let's see what y'all can say about that topic. Well,
that could be another taboo topic that we could talk about.
Yeah, and we could leave that for next week, actually, because those are huge topics. That's something that would probably take a little bit more time to even discuss, because
Right. They're very sensitive topics, and there's a lot that goes into it from a psychological standpoint as well as a social psychological standpoint as well.
But I will say that that in terms of the gender inequality that comes with the service, and which you speak on sex changes in men, you got to remember that sex changes happen with women too. It's not just men, so you can't just be one-sided when having a conversation about those topics.
Right, and they delve more into the fact of they believe this psychologically. So this psychologically, they manifestate it physically, and that's why they do go forward with these sex changes. You know, just to touch on it very slightly, is that this is a psychological thing that people go through a lot. When I say a lot of testing, both psychologically, physically, and emotionally, emotionally falls under psychologically, but emotionally meaning the fact that they retest them in a different a different atmosphere, so that they understand that this change that they're doing is going to be life altering, and that this is exactly what they want to do. So they do go through a very extensive process before they could even change their sex. And with that being said, we don't, it's like I said, it's more on a personal level that this person feels like that they are a man inside or a woman inside, and this is why they change themselves. And just to touch a little bit, the military or certain sports don't quite recognize that, because it's unfair and it's not equally balanced, because they still possess certain traits that their original gender, had along with them. But that does start becoming counteractive once I go through hormonal replacements. So we could definitely dive into that in next week's show, because the simple fact it is a very lengthy topic. So we could definitely get into that, and I'm very well educated in that as well. So I can also research a lot of things for you guys too, to bring you some new stuff, and definitely with Katie as well.
Absolutely. So for those listeners who have just only tuned in, tell us again, Amanda, just before we wrap up this, tell us who you are and what your background is.
Sure. So my name is Amanda McManus, and I like to welcome all you guys to Goddesses and Devils. And so a little bit of myself is that I would like to share the fact that I do have many degrees, one in human behavior, social science, general studies, and psychology studies. I'm still currently pursuing an educational career in psychology, and I plan on hopefully minoring in either forensic psychology or paranormal psychology, because I definitely want to look at it from different perspectives, because the psychology field is think of it as a tree, right? So psychology being a tree, but then it has many different branches and limbs and little twigs that you can go to. And I am so fascinated with this particular path in my career that I definitely want to try to incorporate that, so that way I can help people with a lot of different things, unfortunately, that are overlooked. I am highly trained in working with exotic animals. I currently have an extensive background in the medical field. I hold a CNA certification, a patient care technician. I'm a retired EMT. I did briefly work with the fire department. I have a number of psychic abilities as well. So some of them being remote viewing, mediumship, empathic, precognition, oracle deck readings, tarot card readings. I'm very capable of doing that. I've guest appeared on my friend Psychic Chris Garcia, whose shows you can catch here on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. They're on Mondays and Fridays. He is a great person. He's a friend of mine. There also is, and I want to give a shout out, there are many shows here on the Global Enlightenment Network that you may like, that you can check out. You can always follow the Global Enlightenment Network. You can find them on Facebook, and they can you can definitely see a list of shows. There's a show almost every day with new topics. So it's definitely something that you guys probably should look into, because there's a lot of interesting facts out there. My religious background is I do believe in God. I'm a strong believer in working within the light. So Goddesses and devils is more of a sense of yin and yang. It's a balance over good, bad, and all that other stuff that people, see in the world today. So goddesses and devils is not literally that I'm a devil and Katie's a goddess or vice versa. It's just the fact that this is what we see, and we could be both. I could be a bitch. Let's use that word again. I could be a bitch, or a son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Or I could be a sweet, happy-go-lucky best friend and whatever have you. So we're all capable of that because people are fallible. So I'm definitely capable of that, and that's why we have our title. I also have an extensive educational background in world religion as well as different cultures and spiritualism and spiritual views. I didn't mention this earlier in the show, but I did have the opportunity to train and work with a Buddhist monk, and he helped me to pretty much learn how to connect with self, which is my inner self, which me and Katie will do a topic about that in the coming shows. But I can be reached on Facebook at Amanda McManus, and and I could be reached here. Just call in. But I'm going to turn that over to Katie.
And that too. And also, Amanda is the other face of Soma Fusion, Mind, Body, and Soul. She has now teamed up with me. I've taken her under my wing, and I am training her to become my business partner. So there you go for all of those people that wanted to know about Amanda. Now, I could sit there and tell you all about me, but I think your listeners already know who I am. But just real briefly, I am a radio show host. I have been a radio show host for many years. But I am a multidisciplinary practitioner in psychology and alternative therapies. I am a life coach practitioner specializing in interpersonal relationships. So that is my forefront. For those who are looking up, want to look up who I am, just go to soma-fusion.com. That'll save you all the trouble of me telling you each show about who you are. I do have my own show on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm not sure who the guest is this week, but I will definitely let everybody know in the promos up on Facebook. You can find me all over social media. You can find the Global Enlightenment Radio Network